You dissing me? Don't diss me. I'm gonna break it down to you. See, you be a Charlie Irvine, and we gonna tap dance on your lips.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hold Up, the show where we dive deep inside your childhood nostalgia, pull the movies from your past out to see if they truly hold up. I've got not one, not two, but three action stars with me today as we are joined by George Howard Adams. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah. How is everybody?
Yeah, we're surviving.
We're alive. What are our energy levels today?
Negative.
Negative.
No. Negative plus positive, so a lower number.
Do you know how math works?
No.
I didn't think
I
so.
need your help.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a negative plus a positive, it depends on the
Well, it depends on the
numerical value.
size. I think the negative's a little bit higher than
What
the
did you call me?
positive.
Hey, now, everybody be nice.
Come on,
Be nice.
man.
For those of you listening at home, George is a renowned actor now, right? Like, would we call you a renowned actor?
You can call me whatever. You know?
A successful
actor it is.
working actor who is, making his way up the ladder.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm already winning before I go to auditions and stuff like that. Just life is good. I have my few things that I really value: family, friends, knowing I can get groceries, gas in the car. After that, like, this is icing on the cake.
Yeah,
That's the best way
he's
to look
being
at that.
modest. He stars in Hellfest. What else have you been in? I was like, it's like
I kind of just stared.
We talked about it though. You were like critical to the plot there and to a sequel that never happened.
Yeah, I'm the only person that saw the killer's face in that movie. So
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
That's big.
Sounds like you're living the dream. Like,
Honestly.
Actually.
For real.
I mean,
Not the existential dread term, living the
No.
dream. You were actually living the dream.
I really can't get going without asking Kyle,
Yes.
in terms of action movies, how is your energy level?
Oh, threw you a curveball today.
All right, so action movie energy level today. We're going to go for, it's going to be a Mark Wahlberg movie, so you got to temper your expectations
Yeah,
right away.
I get it.
It's good for what it is. It's going to be in between like The Happening and Shooter. It's going to be right in between those two movies. So very bad and, okay, right in between those two.
What about the big hit?
No.
It's Mark Wahlberg,
Yes.
Lou Diamond Phillips,
Oh,
Lou
boy.
Diamond Phillips.
Bokeem Woodbine,
Oh,
and it's
boy.
produced by Wesley Snipes.
Oh, man.
See, now that's more so, I think, maybe the energy level we're all going for today. That's going to be...
That's like Nirvana. Like I don't think we'll ever reach that
No,
energy.
that
level.
is like Nirvana. That is not the band. Not the band. Don't sue us.
Courtney Love, we're talking to you. She's already talking to her lawyer
Piece
right
of
now.
shit.
She's nice though. Her last name's Love.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, on another topic. So, George, what do we watch today?
What? Action Jackson.
Action Jackson. I will say this. Me, Andrew, and Kyle didn't grow up with Action Jackson. We saw a lot of 80s action movies during our childhood, but Action Jackson escaped us. But
Unfortunately, it escaped us.
Yeah.
Yes, what a watch.
what
What a treat.
What a time to
treat.
be alive. So, why are we watching Action Jackson? What does this film mean to you?
Wow, this is one of the first movies that I remember seeing the trailer for on television, or at least the TV spots, and it just really jumped out at me. I knew who Carl Weathers was. It was rated R, so I was too young to go see it in the theater, but eventually it came on USA Network, and I was able to see it. And it was just kind of a zone of, I would say, transition in film and TV where black dude didn't have to be the pickpocket, kind of thing. And it's like, oh, this dude has the same messed up mustache my dad has. But he's beating people up and doing all these cool things. I've got to see this. And those cheesy jokes from the movie, they're funny when you're like 10, 11 years old.
They're funny now, honestly.
Well, for different reasons.
Yes, of course, but...
Yes, yes, indeed, for the reason why we do this podcast. Funny reasons. Obviously, your subjective truth is not something I can banter about, but like just watching this movie, I can tell that like if you were a kid and you watched this movie or you grew up with this movie in your formative years, this would be a staple for sure.
Yeah.
So would you say it's like a staple for you?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever really watched many blaxploitation movies, but those were kind of big when I was a kid. So you had Shaft all the way to Shaft in Africa.
They doubled down. Wow.
Yes, all the way to them trying to do a Shaft television show, and they did a pilot called Shaft Hit and Run.
Oh my god.
So this is where he started trying to solve white people's problems instead of black people's problems on CBS.
Oh, this is great.
I'm glad you brought it up. Can you talk a little bit more about black exploitation films? It's kind of missed on a lot of people these days. I watched Blackula a long time ago, and that was a huge one in the horror community side of things. Can you talk a little bit more in case somebody at home is like, what the hell is that?
Yes, I don't know if you all are familiar with Melvin Van Peebles.
No.
So he's Mario Van Peebles' dad. He created the first blaxploitation movie. There's this movie called Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. He was getting a lot of money from big studios to make these movies that were kind of degrading in ways. He would write this great movie and then they're like, well, you need to do this. Like there's this one called The Watermelon Man about
Oh my god. Jesus.
yeah, exactly.
Jeez. Okay.
This guy, like, he just wakes up a different race one day. And the studio changed it to an ending where, like, he wasn't happy with the life he had or whatever. And Melvin wanted to get funding for this movie where it was this black dude that was a hero that barely said anything, and he basically beat up a lot of people and banged a lot of chicks, kind of deal.
Sick.
Sick.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Right on.
So, you know, for people like Chase is saying, for people that don't understand, because I grew up in like white USA. Like there were, I didn't
Same
have any person of color around me until I went to like high school, and even then it was like I went to a private school, Catholic school. I know you went to an art school, but like I wasn't really around people of color or experiences of people of color until I went to like college. So like I missed out on pretty much all of that kind of stuff. So what does a blaxploitation film mean to you as a black man, if that's okay to say? If that's how you identify
It's not
yourself.
okay to say.
I didn't think so. I'm gonna go
Take
kill
it back.
myself real quick. I'm so sorry. But like, what is it?
He steps outside, you hear a muffled gunshot.
Yeah, it's seppuku for me.
Well, it's just one of those things where, like, my mother's brothers, my uncles, they were all like soldiers, fought in the Korean War and stuff like that. And I saw like these dudes that were tough guys that were family men and things like that. But I didn't see that necessarily very often on television or in movies. And on the occasion that I did, it was just really cool to see. Like we pretty much grow up like idolizing our parents. And if you're sitting at home watching something and you see someone that reminds you a little bit of your parents or your cool uncle or whatever, you're just going to gravitate to it. So it wasn't all necessarily about the racial aspect of it, but like subconsciously, it was kind of like, oh, well, I don't normally see people that look like this doing this.
Yeah.
Like if I watch football as a kid, see a lot of black dudes out there playing football, basketball, and stuff like that. So it wasn't a big deal. But like movies and television shows, like, okay, we've got Mr. T on the A Team, which I loved, but he also talked like this fool. and he wasn't like the smartest dude. They trick him every episode.
Yeah, for real. They did.
He was the one that kept getting him into trouble.
Right. So for me, it was just cool to see people that I could relate to on a level that like I may not relate to another character. I feel like, you know, you do have those journeys that different characters go through that are universally relatable. But occasionally you have this character that resonates with you, even if you have like a medical condition or something. You know, if they have a character that has Crohn's and you have Crohn's, you're like, oh, this is so accurate, you know? And they get me. And that's just what it was for me.
So would it be fair to say like it just felt like you had some representation for a role model maybe, or maybe even just, wow, that's cool to see that character getting played by somebody who looks like me or has the same background as me when everybody else is, it's just white everywhere. Everything is white.
Yeah, it's fair because we're also kind of at a point, I think this is still the case at times, where a lot of black characters are like, quote unquote, from the hood.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in the hood.
Yeah.
You know, my parents made me study, you know. I know that sounds messed up.
Hey, we're cutting down stereotypes right here. On Hold Up.
There were like very specific things that my parents had me do. I was part of the comic book club and stuff like that. So I did like these nerd things that weren't necessarily
Dork.
Now it's cool to be a blurred, as they call it, which I just found out was a term.
I didn't know that. What
That's
is a
the
blurred?
first I've heard
That
of
sounds
it.
like
book
a
nerd?
slur.
Black nerd.
Black nerd?
Yeah.
Woo! I'm out of it. Reel me back in.
Oh my God!
Damn.
I want to be out of it. Don't
Yeah.
don't let me come back in on that one.
Interesting.
Is this the most uncomfortable podcast you've ever done?
No, because
I've been
Andrew's
close.
here every time, so it gets pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean it's been worse.
Much worse.
Well, that's for my own edification. That's very interesting to hear your perspective on that. So,
And, and I want to say too, like to extend on what Kyle's saying and what you're saying too, because like at the time, like action movies were the thing in the mid to late '80s. Like we had Predator, we had Commando, Running Man, and it was mainly.
you just said 300 Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I know.
a read.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone were running the world in the action movie industry.
Right.
So I do find it interesting when you pick this movie. I was like, oh, we see Carl Weathers, who was kind of a second wheel in a lot of these things.
Yes.
And to finally get that leading role, and to me, that was like really cool to see. Hey, you know, we can have this black action star. It doesn't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. It doesn't have to be Sylvester Stallone. It can be Carl Weathers.
And the chance that they gave him, like, he fucking crushed it.
Yeah, he
like,
did.
Yes.
like that from beginning to end, like entertaining as hell.
What is he
There is-
not crushed though?
That's
Like,
pretty. Yeah, I don't really have anything, but like it's like just again like watching this movie, like I entertained the entire time. At no time was I like, plots, exposition. It was like,
What plot?
let's go, like
Right.
let's go. Yeah.
There's
Don't
definitely
need no
moments.
stinking plot.
There's moments where you
don't
roll
need
your
that.
eyes and you're like, "What the heck?" But you kind of throw that out the window because of everything that's entertaining.
We were
you.
just talking about farces recently for one of the
it's
episodes.
very
It's
absurd.
very absurd. Like you just willing suspension of disbelief. Like
You
you
take
go into
it and
this movie
accept
and
it.
you're like, let's go. Let's do
He
it.
is Action Jackson.
Action Jets.
Yes.
Before we dive in, Andrew, do you got some sweet, juicy numbers for us to look at?
Do I?
What year was this? 86?
88?
88.
Okay, so this is wow. Okay,
So this was around the time of Die Hard, right?
Yeah.
Die Hard
Because that was 89?
89. Yeah, it's like right after.
Probably
that.
filming at the same time, I would imagine, or close
That
to
was
it.
talk about the shift between action movies. That is quite a shift to go from those kind of movies to Die Hard, which is a little, I don't want to say much more realistic, but more realistic than like,
Much more serious.
Commando or
Well, I
like
would say
Yeah.
that was with the shift from the main action star being this like
Buff,
impenetrable beast
Yeah.
to a normal dude who gets his ass kicked the entire movie.
And Jackie Birch cast that.
No
she
way.
cast Predator. You know,
Oh, wow.
she ended up casting a lot of those things. She cast all of that, 16 Candles, and Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Well, I'll even does
What a resume.
we talk about Commando predating this, but does anybody know that Die Hard was supposed to be Commando 2 and Arnold Schwarzenegger turned it down?
Did not know.
So
Thank
they,
God.
No
they
idea.
rewrote
Thank
the
God.
whole thing to be Die Hard.
Thank
But
God.
it was originally supposed to be Commando 2.
What a blessing for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
on Christmas, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just couldn't get it in the air. I don't know if it was like he was already filming something else. I don't think it was anything negative because I don't think they had a script out. I think he
Okay.
was just so busy that they went to a different direction and they were using the book that Die Hard's based off of, and they reshifted it back to the book to create Die Hard. So there you go. So some action movie facts for everybody. But Andrew, the numbers, what we got here?
All right. So, anyone want to guess as to what the budget for this film
So
was?
there's a lot of action sequences. There's quite a few stunt doubles. There's a lot of property damage. There's a lot of studio use. and they shot on location. So I'm going to say and where was this in? It was somewhere in the Great Lakes. Was it Detroit?
Detroit, yeah.
But I think they used a lot of the Universal backlot.
They had to. They had to because that car scene at the end. There's zero chance that's happening at home. So I'm going to say, with Carl Weathers in there too. He's a big name. So I'm gonna go a little bit more liberal. I'm gonna say like 35 million.
You are way off.
George,
really?
What do you think?
Way off.
6-7 million probably.
I'm gonna say 15 million.
George hit it on the head. It was 7 million.
Nice.
7 million.
On the dot.
Yeah. And there's probably some change
So then,
in there. But
what did they make off it then?
opening week was about 5.5 million. And then altogether, 20.25 million.
Nice.
So,
Made its money.
you know.
Made its money back and then some.
Depending on the marketing budget too, it
Yeah.
did make a whole lot of money, but it probably was profitable.
13-ish
Unless
million,
unless we were talking
but-
about Hollywood bookkeeping, that movie they probably wrote that movie off into some tax. But
Absolutely.
It sold a lot of DVDs back in the day.
Oh, I believe
I
it.
remember it being sold out at Walmart.
Interesting.
Yeah. I went to like 3 Walmarts to be able to get it.
I really hope his agent got him on a really good distribution deal or marketing deal.
he did that as like. Because the name Action Jackson just serves as like, hey, we're going to make toys and we're going to.
Did they make toys? Did they make toys of this?
Not that I know of.
Oh, rated R movie, I guess.
But
They probably like backed out of that too after whatever, because I think it received mixed reviews from
It
critics.
did. It wasn't as well received as,
Assuming they were lining up for a whole series of Action Jackson, Action Jackson 2, Back in the City. Or
Well, they did Hurricane Smith, the unofficial
Hurricane
sequel.
Smith.
But that was the thing for like blaxploitation movies. There was typically like some crazy name and a normal last name, or there was like black and the name of an animal that could kill you.
Black Gazelle.
Yeah, there was Black Cobra,
Black
Black Cobra 2.
I like that.
Yeah,
Return of the Black Mamba.
yeah, pretty much. Pretty
Okay.
much.
Oh my God! All right, I guess we're ready to dive in, right? Like we're here
immediately.
to go. George,
Yeah, baby.
do the honors. Where does this movie start off?
Oh, well, it starts off in Detroit. You hear a little Pointer Sisters action.
Yep.
That's how you know, like, you're committed. I mean, you got that with Beverly Hills Cop as well, you know?
Yes.
You hear the
Right. That's a good
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, the Pointer Sisters, big at the time.
and you got to have the duo Black Cop, White Cop.
Yep.
The-
And the white cop is Biff Tannen from Back
Biff
to the
Tannen.
Future.
Was that actually him?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was him.
Holy
Oh, I didn't
shit!
realize
I did
that.
not realize that until now.
It was
What?
him.
I knew
That's
it.
why I was like, he's really good for a secondary character.
Yeah.
He's very good. He gets it.
Butthead.
Would you notice that the Black Cop really sounded like an actor in that first
Oh
scene?
yes, very articulate.
Yes.
like, over articulate. Like he sounded like he could have been British. Like, he was
Right,
like
it's-
an American dialect, but
It's like not a regular conversation.
Not at
this
all.
guy's
No,
having.
yeah, exactly.
Not at your mother's house, Brent.
No, when he was
it
like,
fair?
they were in the car, and I'm like, I remember like when I was watching this, I was like, oh, this is the movie. It's going to be this kind of movie for sure. When he was like, what did he say, Andrew? He was like, no, they were going back and forth, and he was like. Real fuckarama at my place last night. Like, okay, that's just like if I was in the car with you and I'd be like, I had a lot of sex last night. I'm not gay, I promise. Like, the amount of homophobia in these 80s movies is prime time.
his
And
partner
it's-
shut him down too. He had some
Absolutely.
like quip about his mom. Or
Yeah,
something.
It's like
that's
the
what he
last
said.
time there was any pussy at your house.
Yeah.
It was when your mom helped you move in.
Exactly. Yep.
Which I was like, that's such a good comeback. But I was like, this is how we're starting.
Starting off great.
So, and I think we skipped the opening scene, because the opening
yes.
scene is where they're in the tower, right, with the business
Yes.
guy. at the
Oh, I
beginning.
forgot about that. Yeah.
We can cut. We can cut.
But like, yeah. So the opening scene starts with the guy in the tower, and we don't know what he is or like.
he's
but
with
he
the
looks
secretary, right?
Yeah, he looks rich and
Yeah.
powerful.
He looks
and,
like he's
an
CEO.
executive.
But he is also definitely from Chicago, because he's like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Where was going on the roof there?
Very Midwest.
It's like very Midwest.
Patently.
You could tell this guy's a dirtbag,
Yeah.
and his secretary's over there doing all the work.
Naturally.
And he's trying to bed her at this point. For,
They definitely
for
have a
our
thing.
PG listeners.
Oh, you don't have to go home right now.
Yeah.
Scratch my back.
And then he turns on boxing, which we see Rocky, basically like Rocky 3.
Yeah.
as an Easter egg there.
Was it really? I didn't catch that.
I think it was Carl Weathers and
No
Rocky.
shit.
Yeah, on the TV. It was very quick. Like you could tell they were just going for it. They didn't get the rights to do that.
No, but
because they did not show any of the face. It was just them in the turnbuckle with both of their arms up. Then he turns away from him. He's like, "What? This doesn't get you off?" And she like walks away. And then next thing you know, we get these guys in black suits just
jump through the window
they
and
repel from God knows where. And again, the amount of window breaking and the ease of the window breaking in this movie is egregious. But they easily make their way right through the window.
And they pretty much like kill the secretary on the spot. They like slam the door on her face.
No. He punches her
that's
square
what
in
it
the
was.
face, and she goes, and it's like a slow shot of her just like falling to the ground, dead.
But she goes through a big set of glass doors and then hits the floor.
Maybe it was the glass. We'll say maybe the glass shattered her pelvis.
Well, and then this is where the action really turns up, George. I laughed and thought of you like hardcore. Like I was like, he picked this movie for this reason right here because they take a grenade launcher and blow him out of the window, and he just falls to his death. But he's on fire, so he takes an explosive round to the chest, blows out the like. I guess they're on the 80th floor.
Yeah,
Something
they're at the
like
top
that.
of the
They're
building.
way up there.
And he's like falling, and I'm like, oh, he's already dead. And then somehow mid fall, which is like 30 seconds, you could play the whole Pointer Sisters song through it. He starts wiggling, and I was like, he's still alive.
He's on fire.
Yeah, and he's on fire too, and he hits like the diner below, and the girl starts screaming. And that's when we get our two doofus cops to the Pointer Sisters.
Also, those hitmen, they looked so goofy. It was like I was watching like REO Speedwagon, they like break through windows to shoot some people up.
It probably was an REO speed.
Honestly, we're in the 80s, so
Yeah.
And then so they see this guy like on the street.
The pickpocket.
Yeah, he's bad.
they showed him on the bus previously
Yeah,
too,
they did.
right?
No, it was on the L. It was on the L.
L or something. He's looking out the window, and you can tell he's getting some sort of like big idea. And this old white cop just comes up and stands right by his shoulder and like looks at him like, "Oh, that's a nice juxtaposition right there."
Yeah.
You know, they did that on purpose.
First of all, that guy was in that movie way too much.
He was in it
Way
a
too much.
lot.
Yeah.
Like you would expect him to be a
He was there
day
till the
player.
end.
He was probably on Weekly. He probably
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
this dude probably worked a week and a half on that movie to just react to stuff.
Didn't even get to go out to L.A. Just as in Detroit, just having a good old time.
Because he's got this urge to pickpocket, and we're like, to your point, we're just following this guy for the first. And I was like, is he
In a Coca-Cola shirt.
Yeah,
Yep.
in a Pepsi City.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit, and so, and then he tries to rob this like woman who is built like a tank.
Exactly. That's
The last person you would ever want to go against. He was like maybe $150, and she
whooped his ass.
She
Yes.
beat the shit out of him
With the purse.
With the purse. I'm out. See you. No. I not the target for me. No, thank you. I'm good.
she didn't look like she had any money either.
No.
She was coming out of like an Aldi, like,
Right.
with a bunch of bread. It wasn't like she was like buying much.
So he's not a very good criminal. Let's just say that. He is not very good at his job.
Would you say that he was the stereotypical black guy that you see in most movies?
He definitely was.
For sure.
During that time.
Yeah. Maybe even this time still.
Stay tuned. So they and he still goes to jail, which kills me. He just got his ass beat. Like you'd think you'd just be like the two cops that are arguing pull up and see this, right?
That was probably in the contract. Hey, we got to put at least one black guy in jail. Otherwise, we can't sell this movie.
Did they Mirandize him? Did they?
No. No.
They didn't even search him. They just threw him in the car with no handcuffs.
That
was before they had the cages in the cop cars. If you chose her out of all the targets to pick
and got your ass beat,
and
you didn't stab or shoot her,
and didn't try to run away.
I mean, she was like a Yeti.
Yeah, she was like Sasquatch in many ways.
And then this is where they're like, yeah, we're going to send you to Action Jackson. And talking up Action Jackson like he's some sort of immortal being.
Yeah. Like,
They were the first men they sent to the moon to go without a spacesuit. Like, really?
cyborg.
Do you remember any of the things that they said about him, like off the top of your head?
I do not remember. I remember what you just said about the
That one stands out.
spacesuit, but I can't remember anything else they specifically said about him right then.
Yeah, no, because there was a lot. They said quite a few things about him.
These two cops are just throwing dialogue at each other like it's like throwing paint on a wall.
But it's like a Jackson Pollock, so it makes sense to me. I like it. So
I got a feeling they didn't have a script for part of that, and they're just like, "Hey, just say, insult this kid back here."
yeah, just insult like whatever you want to say. We got it. This is the '80s.
that's exactly
It's like
the same
wrestling.
case.
Just hey, we need you to put Action Jackson over
Yeah.
and insult this kid.
There was one, I just looked it up because I couldn't remember it, but they said to him, yeah, I remember one kid got re-educated so bad his testicles climbed back up into his belly. Wouldn't come out. It's one of those that makes your jaw drop. Like, oh, we're saying this shit. Okay.
He went through reverse puberty because of Action Jackson.
They're trying to scare this kid as they're taking him to jail when they should have just probably let him go and just warned him.
Probably.
But here we are. To your point, that was in the contract. So they get him back to the precinct, and then this is kind of they're kind of getting in a back and forth, and one girl kicks a cop in the ball.
And they decide to talk to the hooker.
Yeah, because he's trying to solicit a hand job from the hooker at the police station, which is why she's in the police station. And she goes, "How about a foot job?" And he goes, "Oh, I quite like that." And she fucking nails him right in the nuts. And I'm like, good for you, kid. Good job.
And then that allows our
The suspect to run and encounter Action Jackson for the first time.
he spills the coffee, and Action Jackson looks up, and you could tell like all this stuff. They were just trolling Action Jackson. But I want to take a second because you've played a lot of law enforcement or firefighter like roles in your career. Rate the cop performances we've had so far because she's run all over this precinct at this point.
It's like the cop that I aspire to be in movies. I never get to play that kind of cop. I got to be by the book.
I did see the short of you with the baby, and that cracks me up every time I see it.
Oh, yeah, that's a commercial. That was my son.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when he
Showed
was
me that as well.
7 months old, he got cast in a commercial with me, and that commercial has won 4 or 5 tellies and a Best in Show.
Hell yeah.
I never won a darn thing. And then,
He's cute.
My sperms
There you go.
shows up.
That's part of
and
you,
just
though.
wins.
It's our pro-life argument, folks. We just nailed it. You don't know what kind of awards you're going to miss out on, so get it done. But
And
that's interesting.
He's
though.
biracial, so we solved racism too.
You did.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
we need to have you on the show all the time, so we can
Yeah.
figure out the world.
We should just kick Andrew off the show and just bring in.
Can you
George.
please fucking leave?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I like Andrew.
Thanks, y'all. Really piling it on today. Feeling great, so thanks.
Good.
I feel like if something happened and they brought slavery back, he wouldn't tell them where I'm hiding. So,
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
yeah.
So that we meet Action Jackson at this point, and he like talks with his chief at some point, right?
Well, yeah, you get Mac from Predator.
Yes,
Will
exactly.
do.
There's- So this leads into what I was going to ask. How many actors from Predator are in this movie?
There's also Billy.
Yeah, he is.
And he has a fucking buck knife in that too.
So that's not where I thought you were going with this.
Really?
Yeah,
No,
there
yes.
is a fact laying there. Yeah.
Three of them.
This movie was pitched during Predator.
No way.
So, yeah, Joel Silver told him that he had another boxing movie for him. And he was like, but I need you to do this other movie first before you do this boxing movie. And that's how Action Jackson came about. And Carl was all about it because he was a big fan of blaxploitation movies. That's where I thought you were going.
Yeah, I did
So-
too. Because
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
You knew about that too?
Yeah, I knew that it happened on the set of Predator. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes total sense
So
though,
they-
because that whole trifecta, the casting and Joel Silver, all like he influenced so many of those movies. That makes 1,000% sense.
And the overuse of the grenade launcher.
Well, we'll get into that. I have things to say about that later that we're going to get into.
Oh,
'cause
yeah,
Jesus
that
Christ.
one little quote there.
So George, what does Mac tell Carl Withers in this scene? Like basically talking to Action Jackson.
Well, it's what happens with every renegade cop. We had to take your gun away.
Yeah.
We had to take you off the street. You almost burned the city down. You almost tore this kid's arm off. You had a spare. Like,
It's so good though, and that does bring me to another point real quick, which is the amount of dialogue in this movie is astounding. There is quite a bit of dialogue in this movie.
For an action movie,
That's a
yeah.
lot. I'm
Yeah.
like, damn. Like in Predator, there's like a couple pages of dialogue, probably like 20.
pretty
This
quiet.
has got to be 50, 60 pages at least of like healthy back and forth.
It's dense.
But it works though. It doesn't not work. All of it, like, it does flow very well.
And they hired actual actors
Yeah, for real.
in this too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you got Sharon Stone in this,
Yeah.
you know, Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah.
Craig T. Nelson, what a legend.
Yeah. You got Mr. Incredible and Action Jackson
Yeah.
in the same movie.
What kills me too is like, so I was thinking about this. I was going to see if you remember this. So the back and forth between the cops, right, and the back and forth between Action Jackson and the chief.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a back and forth just done worse. And it is between Will Smith and I forgot his name, and it was in Wild Wild West. You remember that back and forth? You know what I'm talking about? Where they go to the party, and it's literally a paraplegic versus a black guy in the 1800s, and they're just he's throwing racism at Will Smith, and Will Smith's throwing paraplegic jokes.
I
at him.
vaguely remember
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Oh shit!
I need to
yes.
rewatch that to compare the two.
Man.
Stay tuned, everybody. That
Yeah.
may be coming down the road.
That'll be an
Will
episode.
It will be coming down the road.
But it was horrible. And when I was like watching this, I was like, this fits in the 80s. That was 1998. You can't really like go that
Right.
far in 1998. So it's like it's different. And this is like a 10-year span. How we've changed so much and
Yes.
what you can do. Because I remember Wild Wild West got run through the ringer for that like back and forth, and it was about the same as this. You know, it's very lighthearted. It's going in deep on turning the knob a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit, but like it's interesting how 10 years has gone, and then now no telling now. Like I'm sure there are a bunch of people out there that would watch this and be like cringed, but
Oh, I'm sure.
but those people aren't watching it, and that's why we're doing
I'm
it.
sure my kid will tell me, like, Dad, you can't say these things.
You're like,
Hey, when he gets a little bit older, I'm like, shut up. I'm Gen X. Say whatever I want.
So they have this back and forth, the chief and Action Jackson, and this just serves as, hey, Action Jackson's on thin ice because he's burnt Detroit down, which is already a burning city. So I don't
Yeah,
really.
didn't Axel Foley already do that?
yeah, for real, he did. Yeah.
There's not much more damage you could do to Detroit. Homes are like $40 there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
they didn't even film the last RoboCop in Detroit because it's so messed up.
and then he says he's got a job for him. And he's going to serve as what? The ambassador for the police department because the chief has what?
Yeah,
has to go to
yeah.
a ballet
Elon Musk. I mean, Delaplane is getting an award.
The kingmaker.
But he's going to serve as the ambassador for the police department because this Delaplane, who you don't know about at the time, he's just kind of
Right,
this
he's
rich
just a-
white guy. And he apparently, Action Jackson threw his son in jail and ripped off his arm.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like literally, he ripped his arm off.
Because his son was a sexual psychopath, according to Action Jackson.
Yes.
So and
Probably
they were
so.
like, you can't throw a rich person's son in jail because they were committing a crime. What do you think this is, Action Jackson? The law? Like,
What do you think justice is?
And you forget to mention, Action Jackson went to Harvard. That's
Yeah.
just like the
Yeah.
randomly thing.
Oh, my God.
If I had
Throws that in there.
if I had a Harvard law degree, I would not be working here.
Why would you be a cop? Why would you be a beat cop to make your way up
hey,
through the
Todd,
ranks? I'm sorry.
Justice
I'm really
is
sorry.
more important than making money and being rich.
I'm really sorry. If you guys can please, again, forgive me for that. I
We'll think
really
about it.
apologize about that. That was dumb of me to even suggest.
With that 40 time that he has to have
Like,
and
what
a
the
law
fuck?
degree,
Right.
it's like, what are you doing?
What's happening?
Yeah,
What
and
you been doing?
because they said he ran track too at Harvard,
Yeah.
right? Like in the movie, they were like, "Yeah, you're all-star athlete, and you went to Harvard, you have a law degree," and it's like, what are you doing as a Detroit police department, like police
Right.
officer?
What's happening? I was very confused but also his supervisor's also like confused as well. He's like, but for real, like, why are you doing that?
And I think to this point, I was like, is this what Hollywood thinks the ceiling for a black guy is? It's like at his best, he can be a cop.
That's it. Even with a Harvard law degree, that's it. Nothing.
It was kind of like the overcompensation thing of giving him the Harvard law degree, you know, like have to ground it. But when I was a kid, you'd read these comics and like T'Challa, Black Panther, at one point became a social worker.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And like the Falcon, he created his own suit in the comics in the 80s, but he was also a social worker. And it's
Hey.
like, oh, you can do this awesome technology, but you're a social worker.
a social worker.
So that was just kind of the thing back
Dealing
then.
with the worst things in humanity you can imagine. We don't have enough time, but there's a very interesting little back and forth. We get quite a bit of exposition about him and the fact that he's no longer able to do his fun duties as a cop. He doesn't get to just go around and shoot people anymore.
Right.
And he can't carry a gun anymore.
Can't carry a gun?
Which means a gun is showing up later.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
That is the gun on the mantle. That's
exactly-
they just dropped it.
Yep, it's Chekhov's gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to hear it at some point.
Exactly.
And then basically it serves to set up what little plot we have. So we've got this guy killed. They talk about it at the police department. Action Jackson's concerned that there's more to it than just they say it's a suicide. He jumped from his window, killed his girlfriend. Don't you think it's weird that he was burning alive and all this other stuff? And the cop's
this
like,
is Detroit.
no, he set himself on fire and jumped from the 80th floor.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, this rich guy, there's something more at play here. So Action Jackson's like doing his actual job. Like he's trying to figure it out. But he's going to Delaplane, whatever his name is.
He's getting
Right.
the award.
Yeah,
ceremony.
the award ceremony. You find
Detroit
out he's
Businessman of the Year, I think is what it was, or
and
something
he's
stupid.
super rich. He is Elon Musk in the 80s. He is super asshole-ish. He's got plenty of money, makes cars. And you get there, and
Big deal in Detroit.
And Action Jackson and him hate each other.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
absolutely cannot stand each other.
What's that name? Is Esprit de Corps. Like,
prick.
I don't know.
Asshole. Action. And it rhymes.
Exclamation Jackson. What is
Such a huge prick. Not even a semblance of a real human being in there.
And
Just
he does
husk.
a great job playing this prick.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then I think they go from there. They go to the boat scene, right? After
Yes.
that. So
Yeah, I
Action
think so.
Jackson and
Yeah.
him meet up and have the one-on-one, and then it cuts to this boat.
Yeah, with Gamble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Gamble is driving the getaway boat.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Great. But the amount of jokes that we have in this part right here.
Oh, yeah.
What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs on the ground? Matt? What do you call a guy with no legs and no arms on the wall?
Art.
What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs in the water? And then they all get fucking
Bob.
murdered. They all get murdered at that point.
With spear gun.
Serious. Where are these weapons that they're getting to kill the guy with the switchblade that throws it like a throwing knife?
Oh, he's
bullshit. No, that's not how those work.
he's talented.
That's
very talented.
That's very 80s.
That's very 80s.
And it's the same
Oh,
REO Speedwagon
It
Hitman
is.
group.
That
Same
guy.
dudes.
Was it the guy with the long
He's
blonde
got like
hair?
the mullet, kind of curly
He's
mullet.
dressed like Carl
Yeah.
from like Die Hard.
Yeah.
I was like, we got a weird one-on-one right here.
Interesting. It's an interesting gang going on there, but they have all the different weapons from everywhere. And then how did that guy? I couldn't see this. I was driving, so I couldn't quite catch this
Don't
part.
drive and watch Action
Don't
Jackson,
do that.
kids.
That's impressive that
But
you
if
did that.
I did it safely, shut up.
Okay.
So what happens? Did he have a silver briefcase with him, or did they give that and handcuff it to him?
They handcuffed that to him.
Why? Just put the bomb in there and let it blow up.
And it only had 8 seconds on it when he opened. Like, they were just like, okay, we can time this killing perfectly.
8 seconds.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
The dramatic effect of him being on the floor, opening up, and realizing it a bomb and like screeching though was beautiful.
I mean,
though. It was
yeah,
perfect.
It was great. You realize your own mortality at that point. You're like, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I was like, this cat could have been skinned another way. For
Again,
sure.
we're adding to the absurdity. Of it all.
Exactly.
So-
Which again, we can't take it
This,
seriously.
knock it
this
down too
movie
much.
It is
and
fun.
it only gets more absurd
It's
from here.
fun.
And at this point, we're like, okay, we got this gang of basically you can tell they're hired assassins, and they're killing what looked, because this was a yacht. This was an expensive boat. They weren't just going out on somebody's pontoon boat and blowing them to
Right.
pieces like it was. So they were like killing these people. So you know there's something interconnected here, and you know it's going to have to do with Delaplane. I can't forget his name.
Delaplane.
Delaplane, yeah.
Jesus
Delaplane.
Christ! If I
I'm
have
going
to
to
tell
call
you
him
again,
fake Elon Musk here. So he's like,
now we know.
he is just this asshole. He's up to no good. And then it cuts to him going to this like club and seeing this singer. Right? Is that what we get
Yeah,
next?
Vanity.
Yeah.
Vanity.
Used to date Prince.
Oh, no shit! Was she in Purple Rain, or was that somebody else?
No, that was Apollonia.
That's
that
what
was
it was.
in
Yes,
Purple Rain. But she was in some of his videos. and
I
stuff
figured
like
she was.
that.
She looked
Yeah.
really familiar. I couldn't pin it.
She actually had a crack addiction and died pretty young.
Oh,
No
damn, that's
way.
sad.
Yeah.
Well, that makes this even
Worse.
Well, that's sad now.
Yeah, it was, I mean, very.
On the nose?
And
And we say all this because Delaplane shows up and he like goes in and meets the singer, and he's having an affair with her because he's married. He's mentioned his wife, and you see his wife earlier because she's smitten with Action Jackson at the ceremony.
Sharon Stone.
Sharon Stone, yeah.
Great Sharon Stone.
The great Sharon Stone, which I thought, well, we'll get there. But anyway, she got a huge paycheck for what little she did. He's having an affair with this woman, and he gives her drugs, and it's like a syringe.
What kind of drugs?
Yeah, we don't know.
Pretty
But
sure it's heroin. It's
yeah.
definitely
Has to
heroin.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stainless steel syringe.
Yeah.
With gold plating on it.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
So it's fancy heroin.
It's top tier.
Nice.
They just needed to show some boobs. It was the 80s. They're going to show
Yeah.
like some boobs.
Yeah,
There we are.
You have to, yeah,
Right there.
And I
That's
think we
shit.
get Sharon Stone boobs after that
There
too.
is.
Like,
Yeah, you do.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you get double boobs in this
Double
movie.
boobs.
So yeah, because they're about to have sex, and he basically gives her a bunch of heroin. She passes out, and
Did they even like go to have sex? That was what I was thought it was leading to. I was like, what, you're just gonna give her the drugs and
I think he gives her the drugs and then
has his way.
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
thought, and
Yeah.
that was just kind of
This is the '80s,
feeling
Andrew.
unsettling.
And
Yeah, I
80s
know.
Andrew.
Yeah. Bill Cosby was supposed to play that role.
Wait, I think we made it so long without a Bill Cosby, and what a poignant interjection.
I've got my bingo card here. We got Elon Musk, like black exploitation. We got slavery.
Bill Cosby.
Now Bill Cosby. We're really
What's
going around the
next?
room here. So.
It's a dinosaur reference. We'll have to get there.
Oh yeah. Well, Sharon Stone is in the movie. But anyway, what's next, George? What do we got next?
Yeah.
Do you even remember? I don't know.
I don't remember what happens immediately after that.
Was
I do know it was,
the luncheon that Delaplane was having with his wife and Voss? Was that what it was, or is that
where action shows
up with the photos? Or no. This is where he gets a call from his friend Tony. Isn't that what it was?
Oh yeah.
And he's like
so,
sketched out because he knows he's on the edge of death.
So every Italian guy had to be named Tony back then.
What was his last name? It wasn't like Vanetti, but it was something.
Yeah, it was something very
Fritti
very
or something very generically Italian.
Yeah.
Guido, Mr. Guido.
Eventually, they switched to like Dominic would be the go-to Italian name
Yeah.
in movies, but like at that time, it was definitely Tony. He goes with his friend. His friend is like tweaking out on something.
He knows he's about to die. I think is
Yeah.
what he might be strung out in some drugs too, but he meets him in his apartment and he's just like, "Oh, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this action." I don't remember what was said, but I'll let you fill in those spaces.
Well,
but
they used to be on the track
team
together.
in high school.
Then the UPS man shows up.
yes,
Who happens to be Gamble.
yep.
And then it's like, what can Brown do for you?
He shoots him to the clipboard, and
But he says something before he shoots him. He goes, "It's COD."
Cash on delivery.
That's what I thought it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Sorry,
like
no money orders are cash to COD. I
That's an
remember that
older
back in the
term.
day. Yeah,
I was like
Yeah.
cause of death.
It's cause of death.
Like
Shotgun.
you would get like these late night infomercials, and you could call these numbers and order stuff, and then whoever was delivering would show up, and you could pay them.
That sounds like a nightmare to
interesting.
figure out.
Yeah,
That sounds hard to track.
I'm surprised like those drivers weren't getting robbed.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it would not work today.
Never.
No.
Never, ever, ever.
Amazon driver, cash on delivery, like
no.
you wouldn't be able to pay those guys.
People would
enough.
stake out those Amazon cars and just take.
We would
They
have
probably already
armed.
do.
Dude, they probably do. Yes.
Basically, that whole conversation, Action Jackson finds out that there's something going on.
Yeah.
He knows about the boat explosion now because he got back and saw it on the news when he got back from the party. So someone's out there causing a lot of chaos. And you find out from Tony that AWA members are dying.
And
What is it?
AWA stands for
Auto Workers
Auto
Association.
Workers, yes.
It's a union
Association? Yeah.
for
it's a union. Yeah.
car industry.
Yeah, and the union.
And it's starting to come together now because Delaplane owns the biggest car manufacturer in the country, which makes sense why we're in Detroit.
Detroit. Yep.
Yeah, who can afford that car that he has? He has one car, and
Right.
it doesn't look like anybody can afford that car.
No.
But-
Were we talking about the red car or
Yeah.
no.
That flies, apparently.
I'm glad we got
Hottest.
into this. Yeah, hottest, which we'll get back to at the end.
Yeah.
But when I looked at that, I was like, is that a Ferrari? And I was like, no, it's not a Ferrari. It's too narrow. I thought it was a Pontiac Fiero.
Yes,
I thought it was a Fiero.
I believe it is a Fiero with
It's just a
some type of
rebodied-
body kit.
Yeah, it's just a rebodied Fiero, which I was like, okay, I can deal with that.
They didn't have the budget
Pontiac.
to destroy like a
Hell
real
no.
Ferrari or
Hell
a
no.
Lambo.
But they
who-
had the
who cares?
They
$6
had
million?
the,
No, of course not.
Yeah.
the Testarossa side panels on. I was like, that's sexy. But I was like, that's not a Ferrari though. Sad. But yeah, nobody could afford that car.
No.
There's no way.
And then, and so, like, basically, Tony divulged all this information. Then we get the 9mm round that went through him and just destroyed his inside somehow.
This is right after action left.
I was like, Kyle is going to destroy that.
No. No.
Again, the absurdity.
It would not explode. It would just
No,
go right
it
through,
wouldn't.
and there would just be a little tiny hole in the clipboard and him. Maybe out the back of him as well.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, he still would have. This killed him instantly. I don't know.
Which,
You
yeah.
Just take it for what it
We're
is.
We're going to gloss over it,
Yeah.
but it was an interesting moment. We'll say that. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
Godzilla does not get away with that, but Action Jackson.
No.
100%.
Well, Godzilla is a travesty and wasted our fucking time. So we're always fucking
So,
piece of shit movie.
George, there's somebody with information. I know who that person is. Who is that person? And it's the lovely.
Oh, the whatever her name, Mrs. Delaplane.
Yeah,
is.
Sharon Stone.
I don't remember what her actual name was. In that
Mrs.
movie.
Delaplane.
And I just watched it like
Liz.
a few days ago.
I just watched it 45 minutes ago. I'm going to tell you.
They don't really mention her name.
She was very tan in this movie. That's
She
the
was.
most tan I've ever seen.
Patrice Delaplane. That
They
escaped
did not
me.
mention
I
that.
don't think they did.
Okay.
Maybe like once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once or twice.
That was one of those things where her agent was like, hey, she just can't be like wife number 2. Give her a name.
They're going to pay me money.
We talk about black exploitation, but like women take a bullet in this movie.
Literally.
Yeah.
This
Literally.
was like while we're on the subject, this movie set the women's movement back 30 years.
At least.
Yeah. I mean,
Tough.
we didn't know OJ was going to happen. So, like, this was quite the shock at the time.
Yeah. So and like. We talk about the Bechdel test on this show. Are you familiar with the Bechdel test?
No.
So, Andrew, do you want to explain the Bechdel test? This one's for you, Gretchen.
The Bechdel test is a way to assess how women are portrayed in media or books, movies, such as what we're watching right now.
Okay.
How it works: 2 female characters must have a conversation with each other, and the topic of conversation characters must have to talk about something other than a man. And I don't think that
Fails. I don't
I
even
think it
think-
fails
Everything.
drastically.
Yeah, because I don't even think 2 women talk to each other, period.
There are what, 2 women in this
There are
movie?
Sharon
2 main
Stone
characters.
And what's her name?
Yeah, the
Well,
lead
and the
actress.
lady that gets robbed in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
yes.
too.
Yes.
That too. There are 3.
And she definitely doesn't talk to a woman.
No.
She does talk to a small boy.
And Sharon Stone and Mistress, they don't
the
have
hooker.
a conversation.
The hooker.
Oh, there is the hooker. There are 4.
That's right.
There are
Yeah,
4.
So, like, 3 of them, there's some type of sexual thing.
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
and Sharon Stone's character, which we're at right now, is just obsessed with Action Jackson.
Oh, yeah, she's
and
smitten.
She's just
She's-
smitten,
Ugh.
even though she is married, and she's just like this rich white woman, and she's just obsessed. She'll do whatever for Action Jackson. He shows up all cool, and she overhears one of the guards talking on the phone about
Yes, that's what it
murdering
is.
Tony.
But before this, Jackson showed up to the luncheon that Delaplane and Voss, who is the chairman of the AWA, with Sharon Stone, and dropped off some photos of dead Tony at the crime scene. It's like, yo, look what you did. I know you did it. And that's what sets off the alarms later.
Yeah.
You know, Jackson's stepping out of his box, if you will. He shouldn't be doing this shit. But here he is.
What do you mean, throwing crime scene
Yeah,
photos on
yeah.
like a brunch?
Yes.
And she's like, I guess I can't change your opinion about my husband.
But I can change my opinion about you.
And failed Bechdel test. Moving on. So Sharon.
But she's in their little mansion at night, and she hears the butler. I forgot his name. He has a funny name. I gotta look that up in a second. But he's having that conversation about Tony being killed, and all the alarms start going off.
And then she confronts her husband about it, who's on his way to some sort of meeting.
And he's like,
And he's like,
shut
yeah,
up,
whatever.
bitch.
He rolls up the window manually.
Which is even more of a dig. You're like, I want to do physical activity to get you to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, dramatic.
But he says something to her about like the time it's taking for me to talk to you right now is it's worth this much money.
Yes,
Like,
he
fucking-
does, yes.
Like, what a fucking asshole.
and then Action Jackson shows up.
Yeah, he just randomly shows up when she's deciding to leave, and the henchman, this not Al Long, because Al is always the henchman before final boss guy.
Always.
Yeah.
That's written in his contract.
Yes.
Must. But then they go off in his 1967 Chevrolet 66 Chevrolet Impala convertible.
Yeah.
Beautiful car.
Yes.
Truly.
That passes all my car tests for this movie. It's
That holds up.
beautiful. I will tell you that right now, folks. Free.
And he escorts her out, basically getting her killed at this point because like the
Yes.
henchmen watched this, and I was like, "Action, you asshole! You just basically interrogated her husband illegally,
Right.
and then you go and show up at her home and take her away." Like, do you think that there's not going to be repercussions from her? There's already 2 people dead.
But he's like, I don't care. I'm the star of this movie. I'm not dying.
No, there's nothing.
This
can
is
happen to me.
some awful police work,
Right.
like, to the next level.
You should have used that law degree.
Hey.
Why didn't he?
That is what he did use his
Maybe.
law degree because he knew all the ins and outs, and
Yeah.
he said, "There's no laws in the book that say I can't do this shit." So, boom.
There are,
Told
though.
us.
There are. There's a like illegal search and seizure.
Yeah, there is a lot.
Like,
But
There's
it's
a lot.
Detroit. I
Yeah.
mean, do you really follow that?
everybody's under someone else's payroll. Like,
Yeah.
in this movie, it's Delaplane. So in,
Right.
in RoboCop, it was the big cyber tech company. So here we are. So he takes her away, starting the death clock on her. I can't really remember what happens.
So they're at like an establishment. They have a few drinks. She
Yeah.
spills her guts on what she heard. Cartier, the butler's name is Cartier.
And
Great
they walk
name.
outside.
They walk outside, and then who's
Gamble
driving
just-
a taxi?
Yeah, Gamble just happened to have enough speed
Yeah.
built up for the exact moment
knew
that they
it.
walk outside.
For his 5,000
75 miles per hour.
Jesus Christ!
Down like a main road, like a busy main road in downtown Detroit. Just
Tries to clip him, ram him to the wall, pin him.
And Action Jackson saves Miss Delaplane. He pulls her to the
Patrice.
side and then fucking proceeds to run
Run.
down this taxi.
But not before saying, I've got to catch a cab.
Yeah, and that's how we know we're in it now. We're in the pocket. Like, this is when we have fun. But yeah, this whole sequence.
Kyle, you're a runner. How fast would someone have to be moving to catch that car?
Well,
I mean, if
I'm
he was
glad
going
you asked.
75 miles per
He
hour,
wasn't going-
it wasn't that fast,
No.
but
He was probably
because
that-
he clipped a couple of cars, and I think that slowed him down theoretically.
If we're being realistic, okay, that car is probably going maximum like 20 miles an hour, and the fastest sprinters in the world can go about 23 to 25 miles an hour. I think Usain Bolt is around like the top end of that.
Yeah.
So like, but that is for like 100 meters, 40, 50, 100 meters.
And they turned a corner.
And they turn a
So
corner.
they should.
And there's
slow-
no. And what position did he
he
play?
was a middle linebacker or a linebacker.
For
so
the
a big-
Raiders?
yes. Big,
Yeah.
beefy guy.
Go ahead and say, no, that didn't happen.
I mean, linebackers can be fast.
For
but
sure, but like
come
his
on.
short distances, like
40 yards, maybe.
but he was a sprinter, so we give him the benefit of
Yes.
the doubt. And that was a very old Ford something or another. I don't know what it was.
That
He
car
was doing it while talking.
Yes.
Yeah, which completely anaerobic movement. I'll give it.
he was moving around people and zigging and zagging, and that car was not going 25 miles per hour. That thing
In a
got to
suit with
speed.
dress shoes.
yeah, for real. Didn't he have like he had slacks and like
Yeah.
a tucked in shirt, looking
Tie
spiffy?
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
but I
No.
like it. But I like it though.
Yeah, I
want
accepted
that.
it.
It looked
I want that.
good.
It looked great.
His like run style is like beautiful, like
For sure.
very athletic.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, that really showed the athleticism that Carl Weathers has, probably more than anything.
I mean, he
because
just looks it, though.
He does.
They had a show called Street Justice that he was the star of, and it was basically like a toned down version of Action Jackson where he had a sidekick that knew Kung Fu.
Amazing. Amazing.
Oh.
Chef's kiss.
What a
Speaking of
combo.
kung fu,
Man.
we'll get to that. But and he chases down the car. Is
Yes.
what we're getting to, and then he's on top of the car. and
Well, how does he get
Yeah,
on top
he-
of the car, though, George? How does he do it?
He springboards off of another car and just like 5-star frog splashes
Just
onto the.
physics makes sense on that, and we roll with
And then
it.
how many times did Gamble take his gun and shoot through the roof and miss?
with a beautiful nickel plated Beretta M9, might I add.
missed
Beautiful.
like 9 times.
And he punches through the windshield.
That's the thing. And that's, now we get to the glass in Detroit is just flimsy because goddamn that
and
made
so
my
is
hand
the
hurt.
roof of that car. But I will say this: him missing with a Beretta 9mm is pretty accurate.
Oh, don't be a hater. No, that he emptied that entire clip on one side of the car, not thinking that he might be on the other. So we can't give it to Gamble there. Gamble shit the bed. So
He's like a stormtrooper.
he is exactly for real.
much.
But so a series of events happen, and Carl Weathers ends up off of the cab. And there's like a little, it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. There's like a little standoff. It's like a little Mexican standoff. And they're looking at each other.
Come here, fight me like a man.
Yeah.
So fighting you like a man means running you over.
Yeah, for real.
apparently.
Use your steel beast to run me over. Like, it's
Don't
not good.
use your gun.
Yeah, for real. Don't do that. He goes, yeah, I'll do that. And then he just, what happens next?
He gets up to 75 miles per hour, like 20 yards.
It's one of the fastest cars that's ever been made.
And Action Jackson was a track star. I don't know if he did hurdles, but he just jumped.
He clears it.
He
Well,
clears
they race swapped him with a
Yes.
Yes, this is an important little note here.
Tell us
Yeah,
more,
you gotta
George.
tell us here.
Yeah,
George.
so the stuntman was clearly someone in blackface with flowy hair.
Good.
And does a flip over it.
Good.
I don't know if you've ever seen I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, but there's a scene where like this woman does backflips and they replaced her with an Italian man. And I'm pretty sure they got that from Action
So
Jackson.
I love that shit so much. Do you ever remember the Michael Jordan commercial where his mom is like going to show him how to dunk?
yes.
And they just
I completely forgot about that.
and they replace her with a 6'4", 200-pound like man, and they do not even bother
No.
to cut or shoot it from a different angle. They just show it face on.
I was probably
we wouldn't remember it otherwise, right? That
no
would not be
way.
a memorable commercial.
That is these moments right here. These are the tidbits in this that make it like it is just such a transcendent movie because of these moments. Because
Yes.
that shit doesn't happen anymore, and it's like
No,
it's
for
such
good
a,
reason.
For good reason, but like it is a snapshot in time, and you're like, okay, yeah,
We
this
really
is
thought this was
history.
acceptable.
This is everybody thought
Yeah.
that this was, and this is
This
why
is
you
okay.
you have to take this with a grain of salt when you watch these. Like this is
Yes.
why we do this show. You have to just eat it and realize what it is, and know that like it was a different time. That doesn't make it okay, but it's still a fun movie, for sure.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
And we'll dive into that too after everything. But he ends up catching the guy, right? Like the guy, like so he blows his cab up basically.
Yeah. So Gamble somehow hits something that
Runs into
makes.
like a building, or doesn't he? Or like he?
I think he hits the side of another car, and basically it turns into Dukes of Hazzard.
yeah.
That's right.
Or Knight Rider, and he just it goes into the building, it flips over.
Yeah.
And it kills 100 people probably instantly.
Right. Except for Gamble, he's not there.
Yeah.
When Action Jackson checks the
Yeah,
cab,
there's
he's
just
completely
corpses
gone.
around it.
I'm surprised we didn't get the scene of him talking about how much he's cost the city of Detroit, like the captain going through that.
Like in the other guys, and they're like,
Yeah.
they had
Or
a quarter.
Bad Boys too.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the kung fu scene. Why is it that every 80s action movie always has some sort of rich white guy that has mastered an ancient Asian martial art faster than the people that are performing it that have studied it their whole life? Because the Delaplane is in his like house having a martial arts practice, and it's like he's learning from this kung fu master, and he just beats the shit out of the kung fu master.
Right.
And not only does it beat the shit out of him, but the lesson's over when he inverts his elbow inside out.
Right. And Al Long again
Yeah.
shows up to escort him out.
Yeah. And that's when I was like, every movie, there's always a white guy that's better at kung fu than anybody that's ever taught kung fu or learned it their entire life. And I'm like,
Hey, don't shit on Steven Seagal like that. All right?
God.
I feel like they had to sneak kung fu in a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Dolomite.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
so Rudy Ray
yes.
Moore took karate lessons for 2 weeks so that he could put karate in that movie.
No shit.
2
Yes.
weeks. Okay.
2 whole weeks.
Wow.
I actually met him and he told me this.
No shit.
I've got a picture with him.
Oh my.
Oh,
I will
from the
tell
mouth
you
of God.
guys about that later. That'll
Oh my God, that's amazing.
otherwise
fucking
this would be
incredible.
a 4-hour podcast.
Well, we're already on the way, but
that is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. That tracks though. Like you got to know something about it because it's more than just what you see. But like I don't think what's his face Delaplane, who played him,
Craig
T.
T. Nelson.
Nelson.
Craig T. Nelson. I don't think there was even a bother, because I'm going to be honest, I don't think half those leg kicks he did. I think they shot that in a way that like his leg was just there, like his leg was
I think
just there.
I think they cut.
Has to be
I think they
something.
cut away.
100%.
Yeah.
and it was a stunt double.
It had to have been.
And then they cut back.
There's
to
no
his
way.
face.
It didn't make any sense. I was like, the way that he's standing right now, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad that he didn't at least attempt to do that. But we'll get to the fighting later because there's a brilliant fight scene at the end. Very good.
And then next thing, like just speeding it along here because it kind of ramps up after this, but basically Sharon Stone's character goes back and Delaplane murders her.
Yes.
And because he knows that she's hanging around Action Jackson, and then he plants her body at Action Jackson's apartment.
Yeah.
Because everyone saw them leave together, so now Action Jackson's got himself in a bit of a pickle.
Question: who's going to report the body from Action Jackson's house? Like, who reported it from his apartment that he lives in, presumably by himself?
Andrew, calm down.
I'm sorry. That was just one of those, red lights. I was like, But
Maybe
again,
he-
we accept it. We accept it.
There's a dead woman here.
And so now Action Jackson's on the run, and he knows about the singer, so he goes and snags her and basically
Vanity.
forces her, like basically tells her to come with him, and she's attracted to him, so she's just all about just like having sex with him this whole time.
Yeah.
So-
Not before fighting Ed.
Yeah.
The bodyguard.
The bodyguard.
Oh,
Yeah.
What a good moment.
He punches him, then there's no reaction. He punches again, like nothing, like it completely absorbs it. And then he says, if, I do this again, would you throw me through the wall? He goes, no, my Muslim religion wouldn't allow me to do so. Like, what a line.
That's so good.
What a line.
That guy's character was really
Perfect.
good, and he
Yeah.
comes into play later, but he's
does.
just this like tank of a character that can just take punishment
good.
and like. And Action Jackson takes her to this seedy motel because he knows
They go to her apartment first, or her house first.
Oh,
Yeah.
there is.
And there's,
Oh, and
there's a fire and all that. Yeah.
And she wants her drug. She keeps mentioning that.
Well,
And-
yeah, and to your point, she goes in and she's like trying to turn lights on. He's like, no, don't do that. And then
Yes.
like the phone rings. He's like, get down, and he like grabs her, and then it explodes like somehow like they've rigged the phone up.
Yeah,
They teach that at Harvard.
yeah.
100%.
Pretend like there's a snake underneath everything. Don't touch it. It could be in the light socket. You never know.
So Delaplane's just trying to get rid of any loose end he can at
Yes.
this point. And Action Jackson's like blacklisted from the cops, no pun intended, blacklisted from the police department. So he
Nice.
Good shoeing, Chase.
I just got out blacked.
For now.
so he can't go back and tell anybody because now he's wanted for murder. It's a good play by Delaplane. He's got a good plan going here. And so now they're on the run. They go to the seedy hotel where he knows like the manager, owner.
Yeah,
and-
Fats Williams
Yeah.
from
Yes.
Weird Science.
Yes.
That's
and
what-
also
great
from
character, great actor.
Terminator.
Yeah.
Whose son was someone that I knew when I lived in Athens. His son is a personal trainer, owns a gym in Athens.
Small
No way.
world.
We'll invite him onto the show, his son. We'll do Action Jackson again.
Keep it original.
Please come on our show. So, yeah, she is not really wanting to help him out, but helps him out anyway. And they first are like getting along, and then they don't get along because now she knows he's a cop and he won't let her have drugs. Calls her a
Yes.
junkie and just
Multiple times.
brutalizes her with verbal abuse.
Yeah.
She accuses him of being gay or a cop.
Yeah. Yes. One or the other.
In a way that you cannot do today.
But then he does go, I'm not queer. Like, thank you.
Literally says that.
I'm not queer. Okay, well, there we go. God forbid.
She thinks he's a priest. His name's Jericho.
Right.
Yeah, I forget. It's like we call him Action Jackson, but his
Jericho
first name's
Jackson.
Jericho.
What a strong biblical name. Well, actually, not really. It's actually the walls of Jericho come crumbling down, so it's really actually pretty
Yeah, maybe not strong.
but not strong.
And this movie has a lot of metaphors, and it's very deep.
It's deep. It's deep, folks.
So, and George, what happens next? Don't they go to a bar? They're looking for somebody.
Yeah, so there's this one large Native American dude that was in everything back in the day. He was the number 2 on the call sheet of that show Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas.
Oh my God.
His name was Sonny Landham.
Well, Sonny Landham was actually the guy.
Oh,
with
you're
the
talking
knife
about the
from
different.
Predator.
Yes, that's who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this is a different.
Yes.
Yeah, and the guy that played Joanna Man is also in there.
Great.
He was in Life, the movie with Eddie Murphy and Martin
Yeah,
Lawrence.
that was a good movie.
Oh, my.
We gonna take your frickin' frack. He's not giving up any ass. I guess we gonna have to jam him up. I was a kid. I didn't know they were talking about like, molesting Action Jackson.
They wanted to get it.
Papa Doc. He was going to find Papa Doc.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
What you looking for, Papa Doc? Follow the bouncing ball.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's strangely racist. Right now.
Very.
Oh, wow, yeah.
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 And that was lost on me too at the time.
Yep.
Too, but
There it is.
Yeah.
It's there.
Sign of the
There-
times.
Yeah, there's a-
Papa Doc's balls were in a spoiler. Papa Doc's balls were in a mason jar.
In a wardrobe.
Yes.
In a room. A back room.
That just happened to be in a bar.
Yeah.
And at first, Action Jackson, when he pulls up the mason jar, he's laughing. He's like, "Oh, what is this?" And it's like, it's obviously a man's testicles,
Right.
in an old mason jar. And
That's what they serve whiskey out of.
yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, you can
think it's
say
Weller.
you gargled Papa Doc's balls.
You can
That's a shot.
It's like Malort. It's just as good.
It's probably tastes better than Malort. Let's be
Probably
honest.
does. I would take that over Malort.
Oh God, yeah, I would too, 100%. Anybody out there that's had Malort, yeah, you know. But yeah, and he doesn't know what the guy's talking about because the guy's using a bunch of just different slang terms.
Yeah, it's very weird.
And I couldn't even figure it
No.
out. Like I rewound it a couple of times. I was like, are we trying to play to the youth at the time? I don't know what 80s slang, so maybe you can talk about it.
I didn't know anything. And once again, this guy was talking like an actor. He's saying this slang, but he's talking very
Let me
much
break it down for
like
you.
this polished actor. It's like, this doesn't work.
It was like Shakespearean actor over here.
I could have been taming the shrew. Fucking shit.
So, of course, two guys grab Action and, hold him against the pool table, and Vanity walks in.
And then she says he's like religious.
Yeah,
No. She says he's from a mental institution. He's like, he thinks he's a
priest.
He thinks he's a god or something. And he's
Yeah.
trying to say, he's like, I've come to save you and deliver you. And they're like, what the fuck?
They
is
buy
he
it
on
hook,
about?
line, and sinker for a second, and that gives them a moment to,
Punch somebody
punch
in
him
the
in the face, and then take over the room,
Yeah.
and get out of there.
And crush a glass in a guy's hand.
Yeah.
That was the first move. Let me lay my healing hands on you or something like
Yeah.
that. And
Do we think that in the day he could have made that happen, Carl Weathers, with his grip strength?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him.
I wouldn't put it past him
honestly,
either.
because he probably had huge hands. I mean, he was ripped and strong as
I mean,
hell.
his forearms are
Yeah.
fucking massive.
Yes.
I bet that if he really wanted to have done that, he could have easily just like and broken a wrist, shattered the glass in the hand. I think I'm going to go ahead and say that. I buy that.
Yeah,
I
bet
do buy
three
that.
or four of my hands could fit into his one. Like that's how.
I bet you'd like that, wouldn't you?
You know.
You'd love
You know
that,
me
wouldn't
well.
You?
You know me well.
Yeah, that gets you off real nice.
Yeah,
looks like a pro-life poster.
It is.
So what happens next? So
They play Amen.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yep.
Just randomly.
And it was for anybody but the audience. And so at that point, the fourth wall for me was like breaking, and I was like, now I love this even more because it is absurd. But again, it's not trying to be something it's not. It is an absurd movie. It's borderline farcical in some ways, and it's a fucking action movie. I was like, this is great. This is going to be a rewatch for sure.
You knew going back in too.
Yep.
It's hey, this is an '80s action movie. I'm gonna have to like suspend.
But it's not
some
like
things.
it's not like Commando, where like I would watch Commando now and I'd be like, I don't like that because it's not. It doesn't have the tongue in cheek like this movie does.
I don't. He throws somebody in a phone booth off of a hill.
He does. He gets some primetime Arnold.
yeah.
But like,
Hey Sully, remember when I told you I'd kill you last? I lied.
I lied.
And he takes off running fast enough. This happened earlier, where he's holding a Post-it note. But when the camera cuts back around, the Post-it note is still cascading to the ground.
God.
Good.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it.
And they don't find who they're looking for. So this bar scene's kind of pointless, other than just another action beat.
We got an amen out of it though.
Yeah,
So
we can
Yeah.
get an amen.
That was fun. It was fun.
But I think it brings like those two together because I think she understands the gravity of the situation a little bit more.
They're good of us.
Yes.
And then I forget what happens next.
They go back to the hotel. I'm pretty sure. I think who's the guy who runs the hotel? What's his name?
Kid Sable.
Kid Sable. Yes.
Yabba dabba doo.
Yep. Doesn't
He's
he
watching
give
the Flintstones.
Yes, he is.
So good.
Pure joy.
He gives Action some tip to go talk to some lady at a barber shop. Isn't that right?
Oh, another woman?
Yes.
that talks
Got
about
another
men.
woman. Yeah.
We're at 5 now.
We're at 5 women
But
who
she-
have not interacted with
Another
each
blown
other.
opportunity.
She's a fun little character, you know. She very much plays up her lines, but like, you know, you take it for what it is.
We can't also have 2 women at the same time because we had to kill Sharon Stone to enter this woman.
Yes.
But what's crazy about this scene, I wrote this down, is this woman just has all the tea.
She has all the
Yes.
information on Delaplane and all of his
So they don't have any exposition in this entire movie. They're like leading you on, like, oh, you're trying to put the pieces together, and this woman just puts the whole puzzle together for
Yes.
you. And she knows everything. And I'm like, as many loose ends that this man has killed, like quietly and efficiently, how is she still alive? Because she is just blabbing, and it's not like, oh, she's telling Action Jackson. She is telling everyone
in
in the
that
barbershop.
barbershop.
Yeah, and she's singing and dancing along to it, just happy and
She
loud.
doesn't stop. It's like she's, you know, written this down and like prepared for the moment too.
And
Absolutely
Action
not.
can't pay her for the. I don't even know if she cut his hair or anything, but she can't.
Doesn't look like it.
He can't pay her because he got pickpocketed earlier, and they took his wallet and his badge. And like it doesn't mean anything other than in this one point. So that's why we didn't mention it. But
Her name was Dee. That's what it
D,
was.
yeah,
Dee.
and she just gives him everything.
Yeah.
Like he knows now what's going on. Basically, we find out that Delaplane is trying to kill off all the AWA members, the board, and the president so he can take over the AWA, basically kill the union, make more money. That typical American
Strong
dream.
arm.
Yes.
Typical Elon Musk. Typical day for him.
Yeah, as far as like villain motives go, this is one of the weaker action movies for villain motives because he
Yeah.
could probably just done that legally somehow. I don't know. Like,
But again, we don't question it. We just take
Yeah.
it as it is.
yeah,
You know?
so like it
Can't
makes,
dissect it too
it's
much.
just like so now you're just like this dude's just a really big prick.
He's just an
Like,
asshole.
But like
He's
in,
a rude asshole.
he's a sociopath.
and he spent a lot of money. Like he just sells cars. Like I don't think he's spending a lot of money. So basically, she tells him that he met this guy that has this like Yakuza style bodyguard henchman assassin crew, and then Delaplane killed him and stole his assassin crew so that they could carry out his evil bidding. And that's where we get this point. And then he goes back to the hotel and she is missing, right?
Yeah, she's missing. She's in some other drug addict's room, and they're about to shoot up, and he barges down and beats the shit out of
Another
him.
guy from Predator.
There we go.
Yes,
There's,
yes,
that's
Yep.
that's
Yes.
who I was conflating earlier.
And
Yes.
she's just sitting on the bed, and he's like threatening Action Jackson. He's like, "Oh no, you don't want to threaten Action Jackson. That's a bad thing to do."
Yeah.
And so basically, she gets him killed because like
Does
got
he kill him? Does he?
No, but
Well,
he got beat
he
pretty
throws
bad.
him
Out the
out
window.
a window into another window of a building across the street.
Yeah.
While he injected him with a bunch of heroin is what we think. So
And the cops just happen to look up and see him being thrown across.
And that's all this guy serves for is literally a point A to point B, because at that point, Action Jackson and this girl jump from like the top of the building down into the car.
Yeah, and you can see the airbag in the car, and the car had been stripped. We skipped over the fact that
Oh, that's right.
the
been
car
stripped,
being
yeah.
stripped sets up the fact that he would jump on the car, because otherwise he would never jump on it.
Never.
Because he parked it in a fucking
Detroit.
In Detroit. It wasn't in a covered garage.
And he's a
here
cop.
at Bell Morningside.
At a seedy motel.
Prized possession, just out in the open, in the middle of Detroit.
And that car wasn't that old back then, if you think
Not
about
at all.
it.
That was
No.
20
20 years?
20 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
20,
yeah.
a little over 20. Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah.
Not that crazy. It'd be like seeing I don't know how to go into it. We all know.
Yeah.
We all
A
know.
93 Taurus.
Shut up. Don't talk about that.
Had one of those.
But they steal the cop car because it's parked behind. Isn't that what happens? And then they drive
Yes.
off.
Yeah, so and it's the two idiot cops.
It's the
too.
same ones
Yeah,
from
they're
the beginning.
arguing the whole time, and then they try to commandeer a Volkswagen Beetle. We need your car. We're cop police business, and they're like, no, and they slam the door.
They drove off.
So like I thought that was pretty humorous because then they're stuck, and he was like, "Have you ever had your head rammed so far up your ass?" And he's like, "No," and he's like, "We'll prepare."
And in that scene, the dude wasn't talking as much like an actor.
No, he was not.
Yeah.
It's funny how that happened. I wonder when they shot these in
Same.
order. I'm really curious to like if he got a note somewhere, one way or the other, like we want you to talk more eloquent, or we want you to talk more natural, or like I'd be very interested to see the shot order.
Real quick, talk about like directing, like how that comes into play.
Well, I think maybe for this, since they were probably shooting on 35 millimeter,
Yeah.
they didn't like what he did in the beginning, and they're like, it's 35 millimeter. It costs $1 per frame, and they're 24 frames per second. We can't afford to reshoot that, so just do better.
There you go.
going forward.
When you're on set, when does that like take place? Like now that everything's digital, they probably tell you immediately, right? Because they get it. Do they get it back immediately, or or is it when you get your dailies that?
I very rarely ever see the dailies. It's almost immediately. I was on this movie in Ohio last year, and the director was really strict about stuff. And I remember he was shooting like 6 cameras at the same time. And we did this scene, and he wanted me to say these words exactly like 4 steps into doing this and everything, because he was going to have this soundtrack going. And I remember I missed it, and it was like, cut, over a microphone just blaring. And he came out and like he drew a line, and I walked backwards so I could hit that line but not have to look down at the sand, and corrected it and like moved forward. I'm sure he just deleted all of that because it wasn't usable. He called cut immediately. But there are some directors who just let it run.
Yeah. How good was this director? I know you probably can't tell us who it is.
He is one of the larger directors in Hollywood as far as big budget movies go.
Oh, nice.
He's one of those people, when you watch his stuff, you're like, man, this was like a Herculean effort to like make this happen. He's not like the most artistic guy in the world. It's not like you're watching some Kubrick movie and you're like, oh, like this is like, you know, so bizarre, but like it appeals to me. It tickles my fancy. He makes movies that you buy a lot of popcorn and like you laugh, you cry and all that kind of thing. But yeah, like he was super detailed. He knew exactly what he wanted. And if you weren't hitting it, then I actually saw someone get fired.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like you would get corrected immediately. And at that point, you pretty much reiterate what the director was saying, something that I learned from studying with Sarah Mornell. You kind of get in your body. You're like, so what you want me to do is this, this, and this.
Yes. Yep.
Correct. All right. And then you do it there because 300 people were on the crew. So you can imagine the kind of money they were spending. So it was one of those things like, correct it right now, move on. But I worked on a movie earlier last year that was probably around the budget of Action Jackson. And there were reshoots to correct stuff like later in the day, as opposed to like, hey, we can't afford to do this. Stop right now. Move forward. So I think it depends on the budget. I think it depends on the director.
Yeah. Time is money is like a real thing when you're talking about like getting the shot right, and the lighting has to be right. And if it's not in the studio and it's outside, like there are variables outside of your control that if you don't get it immediately right, they're like, all right, fuck it, we're going to move on. Cool, bye. Unless you see it, it's mind-boggling to think, like, how the fuck do you get all those moving pieces to work? And then you're the actor, and you're like, I'm here for my shot. I'm trying to do good. And they're like, you didn't do good. You got to do that again.
Big gulps, eh?
Big gulps, eh? Well,
See you later. Missed your opportunity.
Yeah, for real though. That's a
real thing.
It's a real thing. Yeah. That's a really good insight from you because, like, I've been out of the film world for a number of years now. I worked in production and like
You've seen
yeah. People don't know. Like you don't like the actors. It's so shitty, and I really wish that like actors weren't treated like cattle, which is what I really feel like. At least from my experience, actors were treated like you piece of shit. Come in here, do your shit, and then go. Like, can you believe? Like, get them what they need. Like, we're wasting time, and it's like you're missing the art here. Like, you're missing like what's happening, but it's money and it's expensive to make movies.
Well, in fairness, this director didn't treat us like cattle.
Good.
That's good.
I was on a first name basis with him after the first day. I'm one of the lower people on the call sheet.
That's nice.
And when I can talk more about this, I will sing this dude's praises because like I've never felt more at home on something with a large budget than I did there. It felt like a low budget movie as far as how everyone was treated, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
I feel like that's really hard to pull off, and that's something you can only get if you have like experience doing that kind of stuff. Because like if you keep everybody happy and you make people feel like they're seen and heard, you will get performances out of them you're not going to get otherwise.
This guy knows that. This guy knows that, and that's why his stuff does well, and that's why people want to work with him.
There you go.
The actors are there to play to your vision, and if you don't have that kind of scope or that planning, and the vision is not seen, then it's just a bunch of people running around doing shit. and it never works.
Yeah.
And I've seen that too. I've been on a couple of sets where just kind of the vision's lost, and it's just a bunch of people who are too, willy-nilly, or too like, we're all friends here. It's like, no, someone's got to be in charge. Yeah. And that's the role of a director versus the role of an actor. And when those two things work well, you got magic. But I feel like a lot of times, like Kyle's point, some movies I see, I'm like, these actors they all kind of blend together. Like, I'm not seeing a master performance. I'm seeing a director saying, here's the beats, just do it. And then they do it, and they're not letting the actors play in the playground a little bit. And I feel like those movies feel kind of soulless to me.
Sometimes actors don't realize what their role is outside of that role that's a breakdown. You basically have, business-wise, you have two types of roles: bring the money or service the money. So if your job, like my job, is to service the money. So the way that
You're not going to bring the money.
Not yet.
One day.
Top billing over here.
When it's my job to service the money, if I decide I'm going to act like I bring the money, my performance just isn't going to look good. It's going to be selfish. In wrestling, you have the enhancement talent.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
In acting, you might be enhancement talent. I'm okay with being enhancement talent because those scenes look really good.
Yes.
If I make this person opposite me look really good and it looks great on my reel, and it gets me better stuff where I get closer and closer to being the money,
Yeah.
So
That's a really, really good point, because that is something that Andrew and I learned when we were in art school from our mentor, and he is very much about like, who are you and what are you doing in this scene? And we would be wrong. No. What are you doing in this scene? Well, I'm supporting. Yes, you are supporting. You are not the star of this scene. You're not supposed to. It's not. There's no star of the scene. It's what it needs to be. And I really feel like that is kind of lost on younger generations right now. And I do think in the performing arts world, it is very much about, why do you want to be an actor? I want to be famous. I want to be famous. And it's like, that has nothing. You're missing the art. Yeah. You're missing like to what you just said was perfect, George. It's like you're contributing to something greater than yourself. It is a team. It is not about you. Right. And like, I don't.
True collaboration.
It is.
The star of the show is the film or play that you're doing, or the music, the song that you're writing. That's the star.
Correct.
Until you accept that you're not the star. Yeah, you may, like, using Marvel for example, it's like, yeah, you may be playing Captain America, you may be playing this role, but the star of the show is the Avengers.
Yes.
Yeah, no one gives a shit. No, they're not here just to see Robert Downey Jr. They're here to see the Avengers. That's
right.
So
you don't have a lot of movie stars anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Yeah,
you do have like
Timothy
Chalamet.
Yeah, or like to a certain extent you have like Will Smith, but a lot of his movies aren't box office successes.
Yeah, well,
like Bad Boys movies are. Mm-hmm. That Suicide Squad movie was.
Yeah.
But Wild Wild West was not.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, for real.
His superhero movie, I can't remember what that
Hancock?
was. Hancock. That was not.
Did not
I Am
I
Legend,
Am Legend
was not box office success.
Pursuit of Happiness was.
But I don't think it crushed at the box office.
No,
I think
it was
just
like
was critically
acclaimed.
acclaimed.
You're right. That's what it was. It was an Oscar,
But
nominated.
It's like Will Smith ain't Will Smith in this movie, maybe.
Yeah, Will Smith ain't over there setting things on fire.
He's not Will Smith. He's not saying, all right.
Yeah. We're not getting the classic Will out of this one.
You're not getting the Fresh Prince goes to whatever. Like, you remember the Ernest movies? Ernest Goes to Camp, Ernest Goes to
we did one.
Ernest
on
Scared
I gotta go back to that one.
Yeah.
I gotta go back to
Jim
this.
Varney, R.I.P.
It's like Will Smith is a cop. Will Smith hunts aliens.
Yeah.
Will Smith,
That's exactly. It's very good,
We did Ernest Scared Stupid for one of our Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
So go back and listen to it.
Yeah,
back
I will
and
do
listen to
that.
it.
I will do that.
It's tough.
was a treat.
That's good. It's
But
tough.
not the treat that Action Checks.
But so and back. I'm sorry for the side plot, but I feel like we learned a lot here.
Yes, it was a good discussion.
But back to a real superstar in Carl Weathers and Action Jackson. So where are we? I don't.
We left off. We're getting near the end. Last quarter of the movie ready.
They stole the cop car. They've left the premise of the hotel. I think that at this point, I don't remember where they are. They're driving around. I don't fucking know. I know that they learned from Dee, the lady at the barbershop, that they need to talk to this dude named O'Malley.
Yes, and they somehow lure O'Malley into this tall, like
O'Malley is like one of the big players in
Yeah.
whatever Delaplane has planned for Voss's birthday party coming up.
Yeah,
here.
and they know that, and they know Voss is the president of the AWA, and that what's going to happen is they're going to try to kill Voss at the AWA, and they learn from O'Malley that they're going to dress him like Action Jackson,
Yes. Yeah.
and plant Action Jackson as the killer of the president.
They send Vanity to this random bar to talk to O'Malley and say, "Hey, Delaplane needs to talk to you right now." And they go to some like industrial like
It's some, like,
stairwell. I
who
don't
the
know where
fuck
the
knows
fuck
what
they
It's like
are.
a crane.
it is like a
Yeah.
giant. It's I don't fucking know. It's like a giant lookout tower. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, it's like
Next
one
to
of
a
those things
bar.
that holds concrete up top
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yes.
and like dumps it down.
That's exactly what it is. And
They take him all the way to the top, and then Jackson like swings
he
down
does
on like
off a chain, which he did himself. Which I was like, and there
Good,
was
yep.
no safety around, and I was like, that is
Was no
fucking
stunt
awesome.
there.
No,
No stunt
no,
double.
no stunt double. No,
That was
no
him breaking the chains of enslavement to Hollywood.
Beautiful.
We got it in.
Said the plot doesn't go that deep.
It goes
But
deep
here
as
we are.
fuck.
But that's where he gets O'Malley to divulge all the information.
Which, by the way, didn't take a whole lot for
He
him to
just
get out.
punched him and, like,
punched
choked
and
him.
got his tie up. He's like, "Where's that?" And he's like, I'll tell you now.
You're
Sorry.
Action Jackson. You're Action Jackson.
Oh, and we do hear a line that you hear from Tom Cruise many times. What do you want from me?
Yes.
Like you hear. That's the
Yes.
first time I ever remember hearing that line
That's
in
a
a movie.
good point. Yeah,
there-
that is a classic Tom Cruise line.
There is another line in that movie that I'll have to go back and watch it, but like it's been used over and over since then. I feel like that was the first time.
Yeah.
Very well, maybe.
There was a couple lines in this, George, that I was like, I've heard that before and after this, and it makes me so happy. It's comforting. It's like comfort food. It's like, yeah. We like that. We like that in these movies. It's good stuff.
And so I think we get to the next thing we get to is the party, right? Don't they?
No.
Delaplane shows up,
Yeah,
does.
Delaplane shows up,
and
this
he has to tell his
yeah.
entire plan.
Yes, again. Yes, thank you for. I was like, and here we go. Here's the exposition. I bet you're wondering how I was going to do this. I bet you're wondering why I wanted to do this. I bet you're wondering. Yeah, we were.
buddy.
Thank you for. Yeah, in fact, I appreciate that. And then let's get into it.
And he's got his entire like crew of henchmen, REO Speedwagon, Gamble. They're just sitting there, and of course, Action's like chained up between like two like metal
He
beams.
looks like he could
Shirtless.
take those beams down.
Because he gives Gamble
That's right.
Action Jackson's clothes.
That's right.
And
So-
even says, to most of my guests, you all look alike.
That's exactly.
yes.
He goes right up in his ear, and he goes, "To most of my guests, you all look alike, anyways." Because he didn't want to say it too loud.
Yeah, he didn't want
Yeah.
Gamble to,
He didn't want
you know.
He didn't want Gamble to have his feelings hurt, you know.
Yeah. Gamble didn't care. He's a
He didn't
hired
give a
assassin.
shit. He's like, I'm getting so much money. What the fuck ever. I do have to say, I was kind of like, well, how's he going to get out of this one? I don't know what's going to go on.
Just you
It's
wait.
like, it's like the end of Adam West Batman.
Yeah.
How will our dynamic duo get through their death-defying, drowning death trap? Tune in next week.
I can tell you watched that.
Yeah, I watched that a lot when I was a
you
kid.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
old.
Not old enough.
But anyways, here we are in this warehouse or whatever. Delaplane leaves. He leaves his henchmen to deal with Jackson. I think they're going to burn him alive.
No, they're going to take one of those
Torches.
blow
Yeah.
torches, and just
Yeah.
like,
How do you
section
like
him.
your ribs? I think is the next line. Is that
Well,
what
No,
that
that,
not
no,
yet.
a few things happen.
Yeah,
Like,
not
so they slowly move
that
the
was
torch
Jackson.
in.
very
Excuse me.
slowly,
Yeah.
deliberately.
And then Ed
Yeah.
just drops down
No.
from the heavens.
But
And
what does he
says,
say?
I'm Mr. Ed.
Yes,
like
that's-
the
yeah.
horse.
Yes. Yeah.
It was so fucking funny. I laughed out.
But
I was like, God damn.
He jumped down like stories. Just like
This
And
350
starts-
pound man.
And starts
Easily.
painting somebody. And that's the most unbelievable thing about the movie. Earlier in the movie, he said he was 270. It's like, there's
No,
no
sir.
fuck off.
dude.
Sir, no, that's not happening.
You're like 340.
Your knees
but
don't
he
even bend.
moves for somebody who's 340.
He was
a
an offensive
big
lineman.
guy. Was
Yeah.
he really?
No, but he looked like one.
So he sprays the guy.
Yeah.
And then
Oh God!
And that was, yeah.
and then the blowtorch is used to free
Jackson.
Jackson.
He melts off the chain or whatever.
Yeah. Of course, he had a lot of flex right there.
Oh,
for-
yeah.
And he was
Oiled
oiled
up.
up. Yeah,
he was looking nice.
Yeah, he was looking
He was
good.
looking good. He looking good for me. I was like, damn, I want to chew on him. I want to get in there.
That's a nice piece of man jerky.
Ugh, he's beautiful. But he just gets to have his time in the sun, and he's shining. They take care of them one by one, but the one I want to hit on most, which I know the one you want to hit on, the best line in the movie, they make their way up to this this little clearing at the top of this unknown industrial structure, and he somehow wrestles the grenade launcher from our friend.
The same one that was used at the very beginning of the movie.
Yes.
Which we talked about.
Ed is hiding on one side.
Yes. And this guy just knows. Like at this point, I would have just jumped if I were him. I would have been like, "Fuck you, I'm not going to do this right now." But he doesn't. He sits and waits for his fate, like a good henchman should. And Action Jackson stares at him. He says something. What does he say, George?
How do you like your ribs?
Launches it.
Proceeds to shoot him point blank with a grenade launcher, which I am pretty sure would not explode at that distance. I'm pretty sure it would, but probably could kill you. Could probably kill you still.
Could kill multiple people in that
definitely
vicinity.
would kill you.
But like, if it did explode right there and it was a fragmentation, everybody won't fucking know.
Yeah.
Everyone's dead in this.
It's just, but again, who fucking cares? This piece of shit gets to get fucking blown up on his way down. It was.
That was
time.
that was an explosion
Yep,
too.
it
There
was.
was nothing left.
Yes.
He got charred, baby.
He is 4 times dead.
So then we're getting to like the last 10% here, and it's the birthday party at this point.
Yeah.
So they have this whole
Big old garden party in a backyard.
Beautiful.
And bunch of lights and great food.
and just really rich racist white people.
Yeah,
that are
Delaplane's
there.
dressed
And
up in the nines. Everyone is.
Everybody's dressed up, and this woman comes up to complain. There was nobody to take my car when I got here. I'm so sorry about that. Fuck you. Like, it doesn't.
And then he turns to his henchman. He's like, something's amiss. Go check it out.
Yeah, go check it out. And then all hell starts breaking loose. What happens, Chase?
Because Action Jackson's brought a crew with him because he's got
Kid
Ed,
Sable.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they start basically causing a ruckus at the party. They're getting in fights with the other henchmen, and then Action Jackson sees the Gamble up there with a sniper rifle and the red laser, like the typical, and he's dressed as Action Jackson.
And Voss is on stage getting ready to make a speech. And
Yeah, because it's his birthday party. He's like, I've never felt so happy in my entire life. And he's doing the Nixon thing. Like, his like hands are hot.
Yes.
He's like waving his hands like, here I am. Blow my brains out. That's the only reason he would do that. And so you're seeing that through the scope. But in the chaos of everything, everyone's fighting and whatnot, Action Jackson's able to thwart Gamble from shooting Voss in the head, I guess, but he shoots him in the shoulder.
He messes his shoulder up. There's a chunk that comes off.
Yeah.
I was like, well, he saved him, but he's never going to be able to use that arm again.
I mean, and how do we know he didn't hit him in the like a heart? Like,
Right.
like there could be some bleeding out. He could have just,
Hey, at least his head's still there. We can do an open casket. It's all right. We're fine.
or he has enough time to tell him. He's like, it was Delaplane. So there's plenty of time for him to tell him. So, and then they fight up into the bedroom, I guess, at this point.
Well,
right?
how does he get to the bedroom? That's the
This
best
is
part.
the best part of the
And of
whole-
course, Gamble gets impaled.
Oh, he does.
Yes, he
And
falls.
that sound effect that they put in there was my eyes were on the road at that time, police officers watching, and I heard a and I was like, oh, I know what happened. This young sir got skewered. He just got kebabbed.
And he deserved it.
He was
And you got to mention Kid Sable's footwork.
Oh, God.
He's
So
still-
good. He's
he
nimble,
still
too,
had
man.
feet. Yeah.
He's 78 Bears.
the renowned.
So they're up in the bedroom right now, and
But how do they get to the
Yes,
bedroom?
how do they get
First, he
Yeah,
gets a
skip over this.
gun. He gets a gun from.
From the fuck it, and he
Yeah.
throws him a gun. His superior officer goes, I don't fucking care about
Which
procedures.
also happens in Predator. He gets thrown a gun by somebody that doesn't fully trust him
That's right.
and does a little breath work admiring the gun and goes off to try to.
Isn't that when he akimbos the two MP5s?
Yes.
Yes.
go watch Predator, everybody.
It's so good.
But he gets.
I'm watching that tonight. by the
He
way.
gets into a car. Whose car was it?
It was
just
the
a-
one
was
they had on display.
Delaplane's,
That's what I thought.
display
Yeah.
his
vehicle.
red convertible.
It was
or
a
whatever.
Pontiac. It was Pontiac.
Yeah, he drives it through the house into the living room, runs over the butler Cartier. What does he say to him when he says something like very gratifying?
It's
I don't
something-
remember.
It was
something
like,
like I'm double parked or something stupid.
Yeah, that's-
no, I thought it was a list of more like I'm dropping my nuts on your face. Like
Yeah,
it was
something-
a very finite, like
Yeah.
oh boom, you're dead, bitch. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
it was really funny.
Yeah.
And they sped up the footage, though. Did you notice?
yes.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so they sped up the footage because obviously you can't take the chance of hitting the accelerator too hard and really killing the stuntman.
Damn it.
And this isn't
Damn
the
it.
Crow.
They get
And,
health insurance. Who cares?
Oh, rest in peace,
But
Brandon Lee.
he takes the car up the stairs, which you don't really see. They kind of cut away. It's implied that he drives the car up the stairs, down the long main hallway. And
Yeah, I do remember because you see a little bit of it, and I'm like, "There's no way this car
No,
is
zero
fitting
chance.
in any of it."
But again-
The car doesn't have the ground clearance to. If we're going to
No,
go there,
it's
we're
a
going to go
low
there.
ride,
There is
baby.
there is zero
It's a
chance.
low ride,
It is
dude.
going to crash into the stairs and stay there. But
I do wanna
Action
mention-
Jackson found a way.
I do want to mention this car is hotter.
No,
And it does fly. in the
hotter,
commercial.
hottest.
Oh, yeah.
It does fly.
So, maybe that wasn't just a commercial.
Maybe it had a lift kit.
Yeah,
I
so-
don't know about it.
Yeah.
So it's all tying together now, and then we get the main showdown, right? Andy?
The Haley
He shows up into the bedroom, just barrels down through the doors and walls. Here's Vanity and Delaplane. I don't know. He's got the heroin needle or whatever. He
does.
right at her neck or something.
Yes.
No, he has a gun. He has a gun.
He has a needle.
He has the needle,
He has
too.
the needle,
He was
too.
about to OD her.
Yeah.
Be careful, I'll get her addicted. Don't.
Well, she was like, "Oh no, please don't!"
I'm really
Like she's like trying to stab
Yeah,
her
she's
neck.
Not right here.
Yeah, no, please, anywhere but here.
and then that's when we get the showdown, right?
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Just-
Well done.
They
Kyle,
decided
you
to
would've-
do
yeah.
Someone
So we- we-
hand mutual combat.
Yes, and he goes, I'm putting my gun down. My plane says, I got my hands up. You're not going to shoot a guy with his hands up, are you? You lowlife? And he goes, bet. Let's go.
Which is weird because he's like ignored all police protocols to get to this point. Just
could've
shoot
just
him.
shot him.
Just shoot him.
He could have
Yeah.
Indiana Jones him right there and just pow. But
Don't
we
even
didn't.
take the chance.
Or even Dave Chappelle. Just sprinkle some crack on him and get out of here. It was Detroit in the 80s.
yeah,
reference.
but he was also a black cop too. So
Right.
a white cop would have came in, shot him, and sprinkled crack
on it.
him.
Yeah. Yep. And that's how we know. That's the most realistic part. So they start. They put their guns down and decide to fight like gentlemen.
Yes.
He's honestly getting his ass kicked by little white boy Delaplane. Like
He has
just
many roundhouses to the face.
a lot of
Then the
roundhouse.
music changed.
It did. He got his head put through the glass, and he comes out and he says,
You're really starting to piss me off, or something like that. Now you've really pissed me off. I
And
think
he
is what
did it
was.
with like
"Yeah."
finger up in the air.
He's showing his bicep through his shirt. That shirt never stood a chance, by the way. That
Yes.
shirt by
No.
the end was just showing. Oh my God.
I feel like that line, now you've really pissed me off, has been used in action movies,
Something.
previously,
Yeah,
after.
absolutely.
You've
Say
heard
it,
that before.
I say it every other night.
Yeah, you do. Isn't that how you initiate sex?
Now you piss me
Yeah,
off.
you pissed me off.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a healthy life.
It is
Hey.
a healthy life. I didn't say sex with whom
Hey, some
or
people,
what.
Some
true.
people pay good money for that.
That's what I'm saying.
And some people say that before they get paid good money.
Yeah, they do. But he got said that, and he didn't need to get any money because he just got up and he wiped the
Beating the
floor.
piss
He
out
went
of him.
full Apollo.
No
yeah.
chance.
No.
I was like, where was that at? He needed to get pissed off first.
Yeah.
He needed
Yes.
his adrenaline. He needed his cortisol levels to rise, so that he just fucking bap, 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 bap. And again, he never stood a chance. He wipes the floor with him, but then at the end, of course, Delaplane
Grab their guns.
grabbed the gun and he
Little
just
dual action.
But no, it wasn't just that. Delaplane didn't just shoot. He did a James Bond shoot. He had one arm. He had like the old Sean Connery, one arm out and then the other one aiming. And I was like, you just made yourself the biggest target. You fucking starfish idiot. Like, boop, fucking huge. And he gets wasted. He gets wasted.
And then you go ahead.
I was going to say Jackson gets shot in the shoulder.
Oh, he does, yeah.
Yeah.
But he had to have on a vest so you couldn't see it
it.
immediately.
Yeah.
There's always that like, are you okay? Oh, you've been shot.
Yeah. And it's like, and she even asked, she's like, "You're okay?" And he's like, "I've been shot. What are you kidding me?" And like, and it's just like a wound, like a small.
It's right
wound.
here. You're
Yeah.
going to survive.
Yeah.
You know?
It's
Yeah.
the same shot that the Voss took on the podium
Right.
from a 50 cal sniper rifle, which would have blown his
Jesus.
arm off.
Didn't she rip off like the tape she had around her wrist with ease? Like, didn't she just rip it off and jump off the bed and just like, oh, action?
Yeah, I was like, why didn't you do that earlier?
Yeah.
Right.
What shoulder and like glenohumeral muscle strength to be able to pull that off? I'm very impressed by
Yeah.
her forearms, her shoulders, her traps, and her scapula.
Crackheads are strong.
This strong.
They run down the street with a whole TV.
Especially in the 80s. Those TVs
Yeah.
are like 200 pounds.
Huge. They
Yeah.
didn't
Acid
stand a
rain.
chance.
You see that little crackhead in Friday? He's running down the street with a whole like
It's a
CRT television, not
massive.
even like a
With
light
the tube
flat
in it.
screen. Yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah.
All the glass, all the components.
It's like Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
you get a hit a crack, and it's just like, oh, power.
There's
real.
no actual weight to any of this. But
We're nearing the end. There's a
Yeah.
few lines here that we need to discuss that just really set the movie on a strong finishing note. They're embracing, they're talking, and help me out here, George. She says something like, I'm not going to be a junkie anymore. And he says something like, you're going to stop cold turkey?
Right.
And then what does she say? Yeah, you can have me by Thanksgiving. And then he was like, I was hoping to have you a little bit before then.
A little bit sooner.
So a little bit sooner. And then they embrace, and
that's it.
that is it.
Yeah. And
Medical test.
went in the kitchen and gave her some stovetop stuffing.
Yeah. Oh, he stuffed that turkey right up.
But,
yeah.
you know,
Gizzard and all.
It's
Sorry,
just
Mom.
funny, you know, the way they disrespect women in this movie, the way they disrespect, you know, addicts and like heroin addicts as well, like just so casual.
Just underline women and just
Yeah.
underline and circle
Yeah.
women, and it's like no one really got out of this movie alive except rich white people did die. So
Yeah, everybody pretty much
Yeah.
got touched on
So
it.
I'll-
Everybody got a little bit of glory. Everybody got,
got some pain.
Yeah.
So this movie brings a lot of people together.
equal opportunity.
Yeah,
It
for
is.
any man.
Yep.
Any man among us.
So that wraps up Action Jackson. What a time.
What a time, indeed.
Let's start with you, George. You have the childhood knowledge of this movie. I'm sure you saw it many times, but talk about a little bit now watching this as an adult versus as a kid. Like what stood out to you?
So when I was a kid, this was like a legit movie to me. Now, like, blaxploitation is just like kind of its own category for me, where I'm just like, oh, this isn't going to be realistic, but Avengers isn't realistic. Neither is Green Lantern. So it's just kind of like, it's what Fast and Furious is to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right now, that's what blaxploitation movies are to me. So like, they just make me laugh. I enjoy the action. I don't take them super seriously, and don't really expect a lot of my friends to watch. So
Yeah, and I know we don't have the childhood knowledge of this one. I can speak a little bit from like watching a lot of action films with my brother growing up. We watch a lot of 80s action movies.
Okay.
He's a little bit older than me, so I got to kind of live in the 80s a little bit more as a 90s kid.
yeah.
But I knew what kind of category this was going to go in because I do have like a soft spot for these movies.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can recommend these movies to just anybody.
No.
Especially
Absolutely
now.
not.
So it is a weird like take on it because it's like I think we're all kind of like Kyle, you're a Predator fan, right?
Predator is one of my favorite sci-fi action movies of all time, hands down. That's kind of like the pinnacle in my mind. I don't really think there's too much that kind of tops the monster horror of that movie, and Arnold and the one-liners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm here. Come get me.
Come get me. Come here.
That was Carl's moment with the car.
And what?
I'm here. Come get me.
Look,
yeah.
it's full circle.
And that's what I appreciate about this movie too, because I know watching those movies and I know a little bit of the snapshot of the time. Getting Carl Weathers in a blockbuster action movie was a big deal. Like, I know we talk about black exploitation films as pandering, and I know that they have their own criteria. We look at them differently, but at the same time, they're still a blockbuster movie that made, what, $26 million at the time?
20.
So,
yeah.
So something that's, like, pretty successful, that goes a long way for, like, anything, It is the 80s, like we talk about in the 90s movies we watch. A lot of this isn't going to hold up. No. We're gonna say that out loud. Like, we're just kind of watching these on like, was this a fun time watching it as an adult? Yeah. We're not looking for anything. Some of them aren't a fun time. Some of them are too bad.
There's quite a few.
Quite a few.
Truly,
I'm
waste
afraid
of
to
our time.
rewatch Beastmaster right now. I don't know.
Oh boy, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
That might be tough.
Don't rewatch Batman and Robin.
Please
ever.
don't do that.
Don't.
We're telling you, please
So
don't.
I was old enough when that came out that I knew it sucked.
Good.
Good.
When I
Because
saw it in the theater.
We discussed that.
Okay. Okay.
So, and what do you think, George? Do you think this movie holds up?
No, but for what it is and who it appeals to, yes. Like, I don't think you can just have anybody watch it. Like you said, it used to be a movie that came on USA all the time.
That wouldn't happen nowadays.
No.
I don't think. 'Cause I'll get to that. But I was going to say, like, there's a movie I would like watch in my living room with my dad, like on the couch casually and keep it on. But I wouldn't see that nowadays. It wouldn't be there. You know?
like Channel 69 in Atlanta used to play a lot of movies like that and The Vindicator and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anymore.
and I was going to say, too, to that point, like in the 90s, even that, like, as much as we were seeing stuff like that, Demolition Man, all these movies that we can throw under that category, we were seeing those, like, slowly peel out by the late 90s, early, mid-2000s, because when I was a kid, I do remember them coming on, and I remembering them just getting pulled and pulled and pulled, and now Action Jackson is, like, one that's, like, when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, man. I knew about it. I'd heard about it, but I've never seen it because it's one of those that by the time I was like watching all these movies, they'd already been gone. And then now I don't think anybody knows about it.
No, you can't find Hurricane Smith. It's hard to find like Passenger 57 or Drop Zone.
Yeah,
Drop
Zone. Oh, man.
And those movies were like kind of a big deal. Money Train, you know?
Yeah, and there's a level of like preservation that we need for these. We need these to be preserved. They do symbolize history in a point. You can't ever run from history. It's not always pretty, but it does always serve a purpose. And these movies served a purpose for what they were. I agree. I think it doesn't hold up, but I think it could hold up to someone who is an action movie fan that's a little older, that you know what you're getting into. You know that it's like popcorn, you're gonna laugh under your breath at some of it,
right?
You know, I think that this would hold up to those fans, but like for the majority of people, it does not.
Yeah, or passed down through families. Like I grew up watching stuff like Bonanza and My Favorite Martian because my parents liked those shows, and I think fondly of those, and I'll watch them. But if I tried to get a friend of mine that's like 15 years younger than me to watch that, like, what is this My Favorite Martian thing where the TV antenna is coming out the side of this dude's head? The hell, this is an alien?
Yeah.
No, it's definitely an alien.
Yeah.
No, that's not what an alien would look like.
So, Andrew, what do you think?
I mean, this is obviously my first time watching as well, and not to harp on what we've said, but like this wouldn't reach a lot of people, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe I'm part of that niche. Clearly I am. In that sense, it holds up. As I've said many times, you just kind of accept what you're watching, know where it came from, when it came from, what it is, what it stands for. And if you have that, then I think you would say it holds up. But 98% of our society, if they were just shown this, they would not, and they'd be like, "Get this shit off,"
Right.
But we're dissecting it for a reason. So in that sense, in that world, yes, I say it holds up, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
Kyle, what about you?
I'm gonna agree. I really hate to do this, but I really do agree with all of you. But I'm gonna go ahead and say like it does hold up, because this is, again, I go hold up. My first criteria is, would I watch this again? The answer to that's going to be yes. I would watch this again.
Yep.
I would for sure watch this again, and it does hold up. When it comes down to the societal norms from then to now, absolutely not. It does not hold up. There are so many things that were good about this movie, and so many things that were not great. But like, how many movies are like that? There are so many. And then, and again, let's think about it like this: in 20 years, if we're all still here. What the stuff that's being made now, the things that we really love, are those going to hold up in 20 years? Is Superbad going to hold up in 30 years? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, like, some people don't think, I don't want to suck
already
dick.
showing some cracks in the armor, too.
It is. I don't want to suck dick at fucking pussy. Like, that's not my fiance would not laugh at that. She wouldn't think that's funny. I think that's hilarious. I laughed my ass off in the movie theater. But like, my point being is like, I agree with all of you, because it is a snapshot of what it is. But for my personal criteria for what it is to hold up, I would watch this again. It was enjoyable from start to finish. There wasn't a bad aspect of it. Every character in it like might not have made sense, but they made me feel something. And that is, to me, that's art. At its very simplest, that's what it is. So I think it might be junk food, but like it's good junk food.
It's brain bleed.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I appreciate the recommendation, George, because this is like It's gonna go fit nicely with all the other action movies from the 80s. But yeah,
He's got like in his home. He's got a Blu-ray collection. It's just labeled like anti-feminist, racist movies, and he's gonna put Action Jackson right there,
right in the centerpiece. Just right.
Then go watch The Human Tornado as well.
Boy, oh boy.
Petey Wheatstraw, the devil's son-in-law.
Oh my God.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it does.
That sounds amazing.
Before we get out of here, we always do IMDb ratings. So we don't know the IMDb rating, or at least I don't. Andrew, do you know? Andrew, you
I don't
usually check
remember.
it.
I looked at it,
I'll
but
do
I
this
don't
time.
remember.
So we try to give it an IMDb rating of what we would rate it now. After you just watched it, what would you give Action Jackson? I'm going to kind of give you some mindset of what I'm looking at. I'm going to rate it as in my personal like action movie brain. I would give it like a 5.7.
Okay.
And then as like a movie to today, I would give it a 3.8. Okay. I think that's kind of fair since we're balancing it out.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to give it a rating of like an 8 for what it satisfies for me.
Yeah.
As far as like how it fits in to today, I'm going to give it like a 4.
Nice. I think that's fair.
That's strong. I like that we're doing two veins. Andrew.
I'm just gonna stick with 1 because
fair.
I don't want to compromise, and my rating score isn't based on IMDb. It's just more of like 1 out of 10, and I throw a number there. So like, no, this isn't high art. Some of the acting was pretty bad at times, depending on who we're talking about.
Are you kidding me?
Shoddy writing, but was it entertaining? Like it was a fun watch. And because of some of those other elements that it can't get past a certain level, I'm not going to give it a high score, but I'm going to give it a 5.9. And I think that is decent. 6s would be a little too generous, but a 5.9 it's not worth watching, and it has some value. So that's my number.
Kyle.
Okay. I'm going to say 6.3.
Okay.
And I'm going to stick. I like what you're doing with keeping it 1. But if I had to do 2 separate ratings, I would give it closer to a 7 for my personal enjoyment because I thought this was really fucking entertaining and it's worth another watch again for sure. But like, if we're talking about what did society think of this now, it would probably be like a 2.8. I think society would give this now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very brutally honest, but like my score for this is going to be like a 6.3. I think is a healthy score. It's a passing score, and there are so many movies that we have watched that are complete dog shit in the bottom of your shoe compared to this movie. This movie is
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
That's
Don't
a
ever
lot.
watch that movie. So the actual ratings, IMDb, 5.6 out of 10
Okay. Yeah.
across 12,000 users.
That's crazy because that's like right on to what I said at 5.7. I love that.
Okay,
I said
Rotten
5.9,
Rotten Tomatoes, they're doing a percent, obviously, so it's not as fun as out of, so 19%.
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
I don't like the tomato meter.
I don't either. I think
that's
Rotten
why
Tomatoes
yeah.
is our least favorite out of all of the ratings because it's just
Well, it's like where do you go if you think the movie's mediocre?
the bottom of the barrel for them is way too low, and the top of the cream of the creme is like I feel like it's too easy to get there, and it's just all it takes is like a zeitgeist or like somebody to be like, oh my god, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? Oh my god! But yeah, I think we all gave it a very fair assessment in the end, and I'm gonna say for the group, for the first time ever, that it holds up. Go fuck yourselves. Peace.
So there it is.
Thanks, B.
Yep.
George, what you got going on, man? What do you want to tell the folks at home that you're doing? I know there's something going on that you can't tell us about, but
I don't have a whole lot going on that I can talk about other than I did do an appearance on this show, County Rescue, and that episode should be out in a couple of months. Shot that up in Chattanooga.
Nice. Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
You need a place to stay in Chattanooga, and you don't want to have to deal with all the bullshit. You just come.
he's a
stay
big
with
time
me.
star,
thanks.
Kyle.
Yeah.
And you should see what I do. I roll on red carpet out for my big time stars.
Yeah,
if you
but
know what I mean.
he's staying in a Hilton. He doesn't need your shit.
They did not put me up for that one. I drove there,
Did they? Did you really?
did my scenes, and came
Was it a day
right
shoot?
back to Atlanta. Yeah. Went to Buc-ee's on the way back.
Hell yeah.
Gotta stop at Buc-ee's.
That's
Forgo
the
Buc-ee's today.
Chattanooga
Sad.
tradition right there.
It is.
So, and where can people follow you? I know you got stuff coming out. So, where can people learn more about what you got coming on in the future?
Blacktastic on Instagram. You can also kind of pay attention to privileged talent and ADS management and kind of see what me and some of the other people on those rosters are doing. Yes, or you can stop by Icebox. That's a business we own in East Cobb. I'm there a lot.
Yeah,
so,
nice.
well,
Cool.
Okay, that's a lie. I'm not there a lot.
You're an owner.
Somebody's gonna say like, you know, you're not there a lot.
There's a few
So,
employees out there. It's like, I haven't even met the man.
Like, that was a big old lie. I'm going to try to be there more.
There it is.
But yeah, this is going to be a great year for actors with everything coming back. So will be some stuff coming along, and just check out my friends. I got so many friends working on great stuff that they kind of deserve to have some attention for what they're doing. So if you're looking at my stuff, you will see me repost what my friends are working on. So please like and follow some of my friends and watch the things that they do on film and TV, because they're doing some great work.
Nice. That about wraps it up. So we just reached into your childhood nostalgia, pulled out Action Jacks, and found out. Kyle says it holds up.
You all can go fuck yourselves.
The rest of us say it holds up with caution.
Caution is a good one.
We're so thankful to have George on the show. You're welcome back anytime, man.
Anytime.
Bring some friends with you next time.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah,
You can kick Chase off and bring your friends in.
or we'll kick
me.
Andrew.
Or
Yeah,
me
Andrew,
off.
yeah.
Because
I
Wait, you're here the whole time?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I need to bring my friend Dwayne.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all would love him. He is my movie partner, and he's like the same age demographic type deal, and he's a funny guy. He was a theater major at Duke.
Oh, wonderful.
Now he's an accountant.
Well, that'll happen. that happens to all
So he
of us.
sounds like a smart guy.
Yeah. Way smarter than me, because I'm still doing this.
You're right. For now, pick it up. We're watching.
So go follow George. Check out the interesting stuff he's got coming along the way. I know he's got some big things. And we will see you all next time.